everybody, Zon gets 134 here.
Average Joe Squad here.
And this is Dougie Fresh coming at you from XL210, The Fly.
Okay.
On that note,
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Hyphen, the show where we look at video games, movies, and everything in between. And we do have a special thing we're doing, but first, Doug's got a little try. He's never had the new Cherry Vanilla Coke.
That's right.
makes sense because we tried New Coke on your channel.
It is true.
Let's
Link in
see.
the description.
So we got, you got your cherry Coke, you got your vanilla Coke. What if you put those two together? You got yourself this, so let's try it.
I myself, who's had it, it's not like they just took vanilla Coke and cherry Coke and just poured it into it literally is like a cherry vanilla, like, syrup they use.
Actually, I agree with that. It's like, that's really weird.
It's more cherry Coke with a hint of vanilla.
I would say creamier. It's a creamier.
Yeah, it's
cherry
definitely
vanilla.
creamier.
I'll give this, I'll give it 3 out of 4, cocaine plants.
Well, that's our show for the night.
You fucking animals.
No, but actually we're doing because we realized we haven't done one of these since the summer. It's another top 10 list, and one that I think is definitely near and dear to all three of us.
And now, for the 5 people that have stuck around.
Yeah. We're doing our top 10 favorite video games.
Benjamin games.
Now I should stress this list will be kind of weird because a lot of these are ones that are important to us either because of our childhood or we have some sort of emotional. So some of these might not be things you think are top 10. These are just specifically our favorites.
I'm going for them sweet, sweet 8-bit titties.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm the problem one.
Well, I mean, it depends on the episode.
You see, my favorite game of all time is Weekend at Bernie's, the RPG.
Stop trying to make Weekend at Bernie's happen. It's not gonna happen. You animal.
That's where you're wrong, Bucko, because I've rigged the car to explode.
Well, guess what, Buckaroo? Kaboom!
Why don't we make Cool World 2? Now that's something.
That's what they should do. A video game movie based on Kaboom.
Anyway.
Wait, so before we start, I actually don't have a list because I was asked like a couple hours ago, so I'll just add my personal favorite games, like just a couple of them, and just comment what you guys have to say. So so I don't really have a list, but you know, I'm just here for color commentary.
Doug has no need for lists.
He really does.
Exactly, lists are authoritarian. Yeah, exactly.
So,
Liberty Prime would not approve.
Going from 10 to 1, do you want to start with your 10 or do you want me to start with mine?
I'll go first.
All right.
So some of these on my list, if you know me, I know Adam does. Adam knows a couple games that are on here, and Doug has seen the list. So
Also, hopefully, none of us will have to go into a Taco Bell to get our order fixed.
God, get out of here. That was the second one. Well, you know, maybe if we went on a Taco Bell run.
Have you seen our top 10?
Yes, I did, and you had to like.
I spent
He has to leave, and then you have to keep
Blank
talking.
Taco Bell, he screwed my order
No,
up.
I know.
It's Taco Hell. What do you
Anyway,
Anyway.
so my number 10 game is actually Sid Meier's Pirates. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I've actually never heard of this game before. but-
It's kind of like, it's not necessarily a top-down, it's like an isometric game, and it kind of has like a lot of different like genres in it. Like there's a lot of sailing in it. There's like sea battles, there's sword fighting, there's dancing in it. You can romance governors' daughters. I first played this game probably when I was in probably 6th grade, and played the hell out of it. I actually lost the discs a couple years ago, and I was really happy that I found out it's on Steam. So I rebought it, and I replayed it a bunch when I got it. I think I have like 10 hours logged in on it, and that's just from 2 days. Just me sitting down and playing through all of it.
I'm also really sorry I moved my chip bag around right there.
Because
I was trying to get it
to
situated.
contaminate my audio. But no, it's a little bit of a more obscure Sid Meier's game, but I really enjoy it, and as I did in I reviewed it for Steam. I actually think it holds up really, really well. Surprisingly, like the graphics are obviously a bit dated, but it looks pretty passable even today. And like I said, the gameplay really holds up. What I like about it is that while there is a storyline to it, you don't have to necessarily follow it. You can really just do whatever the hell you want, you know. But there's bonuses obviously for getting stuff, and it honestly, all in all, it's a really fun game. I've enjoyed it a lot, and I've got a lot of good memories associated with it.
Kind of sounds like the Pilotwing games, only not in space.
Yeah.
I think I have seen that on like because I'm a Sid Meier's fan like you are, and of course when you look for strategy games on Steam, like I think I've seen that like mentioned a couple of times, but from what I saw, I couldn't really understand what the the game was, like the mechanics and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
but
a lot of
the way you
times,
describe it, yeah,
a lot of times the descriptions don't do it justice either.
yeah.
Yeah, I know how that goes.
But you showed me the earlier a break. You showed me the video. Like
I showed you some clips from it just to kind of get you an idea of what it's like.
Yeah, it actually looked pretty cool. Like for time, I mean, of course, for its time, but
Yeah,
still,
is it the most amazing game ever? No, but if you're looking to kill a couple hours, I mean, it'll make time go by really quick.
It's probably a lot of my games because a lot of my games are, I'll be honest, are Game Boy games because like that was the first console I really had. So like, there's a lot of Game Boy Advance games on this that I have attachments to.
Yeah,
But,
it's kind of like a lot of minor PC games.
Yeah.
So
you good with your 10 or?
yeah, go ahead.
My number 10 is Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland for the Game Boy Advance. It is a remake of a Nintendo or an NES game known as Kirby's Adventure. Or no, it's Kirby's Dreamland. Sorry, Kirby's
is that
Dreamland.
the first one where he's white?
No, that's Kirby's Adventure.
Okay.
Way to assume his race, Doug.
Well, no, he actually was.
No, I know.
Yeah, because Kirby went through a lot of. But basically, in my opinion, it's one of those ports that like it's one of those remakes that it's so good I don't really see the need to play the original. I actually never played the original until we got the NES Mini at work, which has Kirby's Dreamland on it.
Well, on one of these days when I move and get all my consoles set up, maybe I'll pick it up and you can come over and play it.
Honestly, if you had a Game Boy player, I just say pop in
I don't.
Nightmare in Dreamland. But
I don't even think Doug does. Do you?
What?
Do you have a Game Boy player for your GameCube?
No, I don't. I did as a kid, but that was a long time ago.
well,
Yeah.
regardless, but Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland is really great. The plot's really simple because it's a Kirby game, but basically, King Dedede decided to take a bath in the Fountain of Dreams. Basically, this fountain that its waters allow the people of Dreamland to dream when they sleep. Well, unfortunately, due to him bathing, these weird nightmare creatures start coming out of the pool, and in retaliation, he broke the Star Rod. In fact, this is the first game where where Dedede, it looks like Dedede's the bad guy, but he's not. Because basically the reason he broke the Star Rod was because this monster was going to come out and was going to use the Star Rod to get more power.
Kind of like in Kirby 64, right?
Yeah, like Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards.
Because he's not the bad guy. He
Yeah.
at first seems like it, but then he joins
Yeah.
you.
And so basically Kirby is tasked, because he's the hero of Dreamland, to get the Star Rod pieces back from all of Dedede's henchmen and also bring back the dreams to... One of the things I love about this game is just... It was so fun, and like... It's so classic Kirby that, in my opinion, it's actually what I judge every other Kirby game to, just because of how much fun it is. Like, you have like all these different switches you can find that allows you to get the 100%. I've beaten it. I've beaten the Nightmare mode where you play as Kirby, but he only has 3 health or 3 hits instead of 6. I've never beaten Meta Nightmare mode, but that's because you play as Meta Knight and he only has 3 hits and you only have like a set amount of lives, but you have to beat the whole game without stopping. So it's really, really hard.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
But like, I know that game inside and out. Like, I know where all the switches are. I know how to get all the switches. Like, you need certain Kirby forms. This game also was important to me because it was a tie-in to a Kirby anime that was going on at the time, Kirby Right Back at Ya.
Yeah, right back at you.
In fact, like, most of the sprite animation or sprites for the game are actually redone to look like the characters do in Nightmare or Kirby Right Back at Ya.
So kind of like Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah, actually, a lot of ways Pokemon Yellow. My only real complaint with this game is if you don't like Kirby, you'll be like, this is too easy. But for me, I think the game is super, super fun, and with Kirby, you don't need it to be hard. You just need to have fun. Because that's one of the things I like about Kirby. And if you want to get 100%, it is actually really hard. Also, fun fact in the game: there's a boss rush in the seventh area. It's basically you fight through all the mini bosses you fight. There's actually a little, like, it looks like a gate, like a little grate. If you try to go in there like it's a door, you actually get a different boss rush where you fight harder versions of some of the mini bosses. But your reward is you get 5 extra lives at the end of it. So I always recommend doing that because, I mean, just because it's kind of a neat little secret in if you want extra lives. I say why not. Yeah, the only reason I say it's down so far on the list is just because it's a remake, and B, like, pretty much every other Kirby game just does more than this game. But like, I love it so much just because it's just a concise little package, and it's just Kirby. Basically, is my reason for my number 10. So yeah.
What about you?
Wait,
Do you have a game that you want to offer?
Well, I would say for time's sake, I'll kind of keep it like I'll give my games like later, in the list.
Yeah.
But I do want to say something about Kirby. You know what? You can say Kirby sucks. Get it?
I hate you so
Thank
much.
you.
I'm gonna throw you out of this Jeep.
No,
Lock the door, Adam. It's just this Jeep just turned into a predator room.
Just a death car.
Douglas, you're out of the band.
I am the band. But no, I don't think I've played that one. But I have played other Kirby games on like the Game Boy Advance. Like I forget, it was like the 1,000 Mirrors.
The Amazing Mirror.
Yes, that was a great one. So no, I liked Kirby games, and of course I played the original on the Game Boy. So
Oh, I did too.
I imagine what you're talking about. I haven't played it, but I would imagine it'd be a great Kirby game.
Oh no, it looks really good too, and sounds really good too for the Game Boy Advance. For those of you who've never played the Game Boy Advance, that thing's sound is bit crushed to
Yeah.
hell. Like almost every sound, like it's tinny and just it sounds like a almost like a bootleg a lot of the time, especially some of the ports that got ported to the Game Boy.
Somebody like having like a Sony Walkman with the clip-on mic.
Yeah, actually. So you want me to do my number 9 next? Since we started with you, or do you want to?
I'll go. We'll just keep trading it off.
Okay, that works too.
Until Doug
That
wants
works
to
too.
interject. So,
Right.
my number 9 is actually another Sid Meier's game. It's Civilization 4.
Okay.
I really enjoy all the Civilization games. I feel like that's the one game series that everybody has a pretty good opinion of, just because it's it's another good time waster.
Yeah.
It's a really good strategy game, and you always feel like I just want to do one more turn.
Like Cookie Clicker.
One more turn.
Like Cookie Clicker.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like I said, I have all of them. 4 is honestly the one I played first. Along with its many expansion packs like Warlords. The Revolution one I think went along with this one as well, but that one kind of is meh. That one I really don't recommend all that much. Just it's kind of limited.
You know.
But yeah, Civilization 4 was the first one I ever played, and I remember like hearing about the series a lot, and I was just kind of starting to get into RTS a little bit. I'm not a really big RTS guy, but like, when I play them, I have fun with them. And when I played this one, I got really drawn in, and like this is actually like cool. You can like do your own cities and
Yeah.
link. There's a lot to do in it. Of course, when I was young, I tried to commit war on everybody and probably got my ass beat by everybody.
As you do.
Anymore, I just declare war on Gandhi because you got to kill him before he gets the nukes, because then he just goes nuts.
Well, I thought God was for peace.
Well,
Yeah.
have you never heard about this?
No.
Okay, basically in the original Civilization, for the DOS.
Oh shit, he's epic rap battles, Gandhi. You want to battle with? See who's the better pacifist? I fought the caste system, so you still cannot touch this.
Yeah, but so basically on the original Civilization for the PC, basically Gandhi is normally set the pacifist,
Right.
like he was in real life. There was actually a coding error with it,
Oh.
and what happened was he would get nuclear power, right?
Right.
And what would happen is some kind of error would happen in the code, and it would try to like adjust it with the pacifist thing. It would go backwards and make it like 999 like aggressive. So like he would just turn into a freaking madman with nukes.
I have finally had enough of all of the British and their caste system. I'm just going to nuke them back to their god.
Yeah. So what happened was
God.
people pointed it out, and they thought it became a joke, really, with people that played Civilization.
Right.
It became such a joke that the company that made Civilization, they're like, they've kept it in every game since.
Really?
They program it in now, and it's hysterical.
You know what?
But the side effect is when you play it, and if he shows up, you gotta kill him instantly.
And
And
things
get
get-
rid of him, because otherwise, later on down the road, you're just gonna get in trouble.
And things get real wild when Gandhi comes into the mix. Hey, y'all, schniggity diggity.
Walks in, he's
Robot
like,
chicken.
"Hey, everybody, I got Chernobyl."
I am so going to hell.
Oh, by the way, okay, no, it's not Gandhi from history. It's Gandhi from Clone High.
God. Yeah, I mean,
Only one person out of all the viewers got
This
that.
is the only time you can see a white man play an Indian dude aside from Short Circuit.
Oh, Jesus.
but yeah, what else can I say? It's Civilization, classic game. All of them are really great. I enjoy all of them, but 4 was I put on there in specifically just because that was really the first one I played and experienced.
I actually got something to add to this. So actually, one of my favorite would have to be Civilization 5, because that's the one. Because when I got Steam, that's the first one I got for strategy games. I love strategy games.
That was actually, not to interrupt, that was actually the reason I got Steam. Because
Yeah.
I don't know how many, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, Adam. When I bought that game, Steam was really just coming big.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was I got the disc. It makes you install it through Steam.
Yes, actually, that what happened with me.
So I had to get a Steam account to play Civilization 5.
Yeah.
Just to get it installed. And then I think I had Steam for like 3-4 years. And I never used it until I was midway through college. I got back into PC gaming a lot.
Right.
And so I started using Steam because it was just easier to have everything on there rather than have to hunt down discs and hook up stuff to because a lot of laptops anymore don't have a CD drive.
I actually think when I did
That's
get
weird.
Civilization 5.
Oh yeah. But,
Oh, sorry. So when I got Civilization 5, actually, it's what you said. I got it from a CD because that was before I got Steam. I was, used to PC games and CDs.
Yeah.
So and I moved into we moved into the new house at this time. So we didn't have internet. We were still waiting for the internet to come by.
Yeah.
So I was hoping, oh man, I'm gonna get to play this. I'm gonna get this ready to go as we were waiting for the internet. Nope, you gotta have
I
Steam.
gotta have Steam.
So I forget what I had to do if I had to. I forget what I did, but yeah. So I had to get Steam to get that. So and then of course it took me. I mean, I think I did get to it a little bit sooner, but either way. So on track. Civilization 5 was great. I loved it. I still play it sometimes. Even before that though, on the Xbox 360 was Civilization Revolution. That was my first Civilization game, and looking back compared to PCs, it's elementary. It's
It's a little
very,
dumbed down just because
it's a big
you can't
cartoony.
really fit a full-blown RTS on a 360.
But for a Xbox adaptation for it, or even for a beginner, as a kid or preteen,
Yeah.
it was really good. So yeah, I agree.
And as Gandhi, I still give you a sitting of my foot up your ass.
Look, man, I was more of a Autobahn Bismarck.
This is the joke I'm doing this video. He's doing Gandhi.
You're gonna get us demonetized here.
We're not even monetized.
Monetized.
So it doesn't matter.
Well, what if we
No,
do?
If we were monetized, we would have gotten demonetized the minute I started the Weekend at Bernie's joke.
Speaking of, Doug, here's your cut for the video.
I'll take it.
All right. Going on to my number 9.
Oh, jeez.
My number 9 is Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. This one was really hard because I wanted to put so many different Zeldas down, but for me, in terms of Zeldas, the one that I think has the best story out of pretty much all of them is probably this one. Or at least for me, just because it's so unique out of all the rest of them. Because a lot of the Zelda plots are pretty standard. Zelda is in some sort of trouble, either that or kidnapped. Ganon is on the rise to power, and Link is the hero that has to, find the Triforce or whatever MacGuffin he needs to defeat Ganon.
Now, Zelda's the little green guy, right?
This is why Gandhi uses the nukes.
I saw the opportunity for the easy joke, and I went for it. I'm sorry.
Why don't you sit in with those grits? Sit down with some spinach.
We're going to get flagged, because that's
We're not-
copyrighted, man. I don't want to get flagged.
Big rap battles ain't gonna care.
I was gonna say, I don't think they're gonna care.
Nice Peter is nice. Anyway,
Shows up. That's where you're wrong.
well, I'll just have to challenge them to a rap battle to get our monetization back. It'll be all right.
Dear God. They make you fight Sam Walton.
Where the hell was I going with this? All right.
Best story.
Yeah. Because for me, it's more interesting just because it is from Link's perspective. Because it's, for those of you who've never played Ocarina of Time, Navi, his fairy companion, disappears at the end. And basically, this goes into the idea that Link actually, regressed back to being a child and actually had his childhood. For those of you who follow the timeline.
It's very consistent.
Yeah.
I've seen Cinemasker's video on it, so I'm
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit. I'm aware of how
Yeah.
messed up it is.
But basically, this takes it's the idea that the child returned, but then he disappeared. And what he was doing was he was looking for Navi, and he goes through the woods. And as he's going through, he comes across a skull kid with a strange mask. And instead of finding Navi, his horse Epona gets kidnapped, and so Link gives chase, leading him into this weird, strange world, and turn into a Deku Scrub. And so basically, his journey is, to find Epona, figure out what's going on, get the mask off his face, and go back. But unfortunately, he gets trapped in basically a time loop, as Skull Kid is using the mask, which is Majora's Mask, the titular Majora's Mask, to cause the moon to fall into this land known as Termina. The manuals and pretty much everything says it's basically an alternate dimension opposite of Hyrule. And no, he's not dead. For those of you who are going to say it, he's not dead. He falls on a Deku Flower, and Deku Flowers don't allow you to take fall damage.
Well, no, Ben's dead. He's the one that's trapped in the cartridge.
Oh no! Creepy pastas.
Went there. And so basically, in order to prevent himself from dying when in the 3 days he can't get the mask off and stop Skull Kid, he uses his ocarina to play the Song of Time, which allows him to rewind back to the first day. And so basically, Link has to use the Song of Time in order to try and find these 4 giants that guard Termina so that they can help him stop the moon and stop the Skull Kid and get Majora's Mask back. Along the way, also breaking the curse, but finding these magic masks that allow him to save the day. Like, for me, I just find this story so interesting just because, like, there's so many aspects about Link realizing he lost his childhood thanks to the events of Ocarina of Time, meeting all these characters that look like people he knows but are radically different just because they're the opposite of Termina and Hyrule, and just the really macabre, somber sense the game has. It really feels that you really feel the dread of the moon going to fall in 3 days.
You mean the moon with the evil face on it?
Oh my god, that face is super creepy.
Yeah,
like,
it was,
have you seen the moon?
Yes.
Like, it is.
I haven't played the game, but I know of it.
For me, that's one of the reasons why I just like the game so much, especially because like there's all these side missions that are like, in my opinion, this is like one of the first Zelda games to have more side quests than actual plot, much like Breath of the Wild, in that regard. And if you want the best ending, you have to do all the side quests because that's the only way you can get every mask. Because basically the best ending is when you get all of the masks. And I will admit, the original version of this game is very clunky. You know, like the way you have to constantly change out your items and masks. A lot of the more clunkier aspects just because of the way the 64 controller was set up. If you are going to play this game, I recommend either playing the GameCube re-release they did. It doesn't fix everything, but it's a better controller than the 64. Or, in my personal opinion, get the 3DS remake of Majora's Mask. It fixes a lot of the issues that original game had. Same with Ocarina of Time. Just get the DS versions because it just...
Well, no, man. You
was like the definitive version.
You gotta play it on the original system.
I mean, you can do that if you want, but...
Yeah, because I actually have a Nintendo 64, and I did get Ocarina of Time for it, and... I gotta say, the controller is so awkward to use.
Hey, here's a great idea. Let's put the analog stick in the very middle of the controller and not use the D-pad at all.
I remember when, because I actually found him the deal for that, because I think it was like you got a Super NES, an N64, and a GameCube.
Yep.
I found him through Marketplace, because I knew he was looking for one.
Which I do appreciate, thank you.
Yeah, so I kept my eye open, and I went with him to get him, and I checked everything, checked all the connectors and stuff. And I told him everything looks good, but the N64 controller is still fucked.
Yeah. Hey, at least got Atari games from it.
Yeah, I got a bunch of Atari games from it. The guy didn't have an Atari, but he had all these games for it, and I have an Atari 2600. So.
But you didn't get Beat 'em and Eat 'em.
Jesus.
If you want to find that and play that,
what's next? Custer's Revenge.
No, that game is actually legitimately offensive.
Mike Matei wants to have a word.
I know. I'm saying, where's the line?
Well, that's my line.
There is no. We're making Weekend at Bernie's jokes every episode. There is no damn line.
Did you miss the part when I was doing a terrible Indian accent for Gandhi?
Okay. Jesus.
All right.
Okay, so yeah.
So we're at 8, right?
Yeah.
Because you did your 9.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, one more thing. I never played it, but I imagine it's better than Ocarina of Time because according to a certain YouTuber...
Oh, do not bring up MatPat.
No, I was bringing somebody else, more respectful. Aaron Hansen.
You guys are both
You
wrong.
sit down.
Link to the Past is the best one.
Again, thank you, Ego Raptor.
No, I take it back. Zelda 2, the side scroller. That's the definitive damn game for Zelda.
Actually, to
That's
be
the
honest,
definitive
I
one.
don't think that game is that bad.
I don't either.
It's
That's actually...
It's a hard son of a bitch, but like...
Even as James Rolfe said, it's not bad.
It's just like...
So, does that happen?
No, it was like... I think my hair got caught on something. Yeah, my
Okay.
hair got caught on my fence. My bad. It felt like Doug was like fucking with my ear for a minute. I was like, "What are you doing back there?"
That's off the camera.
Well, I thought the way you turned your neck, I'm like, oh no, he's been shot!
Yeah, an arrow.
Like, he got tranked.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow to the knee.
Anyway, what's your number?
My
8?
number 8 is Railroad Tycoon 3. Yet another game Sid Meier was involved in. Well, he was involved with the series. I don't know if he was still involved at this late in the development. But
So
this
who
is
do you
last
pick,
one.
Percy or Thomas?
Oh my God, no. There's mods for that.
I want to be the fat conductor.
Excuse me, this is
Thomas-
America. His name is Sir Topham Hatt.
Thomas had never seen such bullshit.
That's where you're wrong, Sir the Fat Conductor.
Did you wall up some trains or anything?
Jesus. But again, it's a good time waster. I had this game as a kid because I was really big on trains when I was a kid. You know, I knew a lot, loved them, and for me, this was like the best game possible I could have gotten because it's open world. You can do whatever you want. I used to love messing around with Sandbox and just like making lines and like
Quick aside,
watching
real quick.
trains drive around and stuff. It was fun.
Quick aside, what is with you NASCAR kids and liking trains? Because you're not the only NASCAR fan that I know that likes
I
trains.
like trains. I don't
Is there
know.
like a connection there?
It has an engine.
I don't
that's-
know.
Like, I'm not even saying that to be rude. Like, legitimately, like,
I've always liked trains, honestly. Like,
and to be fair, I like trains. As well,
I used to have a pretty good model railroad thing going on in my basement until like I kind of just got out of it because as much as I love model railroads, it takes up a shit ton of space.
It is expensive.
Oh yeah, it takes a lot of space and it's really expensive. But again, that's really I think why I played Railroad Tycoon 3 so much as a kid because it basically was having a model railroad, but you didn't have to take it apart and spend a lot of money on it.
No, that's fair.
And like I said, I had a lot of fun with it. In recent years, I've done a lot more of the campaign stuff because when I was a kid, I didn't really want to do any of that. I just wanted to
be
set
fair,
trains
with those-
up
with
and
the-
watch them run.
With those tycoon things, usually the campaign is use this item in the game to kind of give you an idea of how to use the sandbox.
Like a
Yeah.
tutorial.
Yeah, it's basically just a fancy tutorial, more or
Yeah.
less.
Another thing I really liked about it is, as a guy who was a history buff and has been since he was a kid, there was a lot of history involved with this stuff. Like, I remember that the manuals, there were 2 different manuals for it. There was one, like, how to play the game. There was another one that was, like, a guide, like, to just how, like, this is what this engine did. And I remember the coolest thing ever was it came with a poster, right? And you would unfold it, and it would have every engine in the game, and it'd have all the stats, like top speed. Here's how it climbs up a hill. Like, how good is it? How's the reliability? It had all that on this. I studied that thing religiously. I used to take the manuals with me a lot of places and just read them.
I feel like I can get like a sense of where your love for NASCAR has come, like when it comes to like the details of stuff. Because that sounds like something you would like tell me from a game you're playing, like NASCAR.
Yeah, well, I don't have any NASCAR games on this list, surprisingly, but probably because like I don't consider like because like I do Sims. You know, I don't really
Right.
consider Sims to be a game. I consider it to be a sim. It's a different thing, but I had a lot of NASCAR Sims as a kid as well.
Which is why his number 1 is Gran Turismo.
No, it's fucking not. Get out of here with that. I never even played Gran Turismo until I was in college, surprisingly. But yeah, it's a good sandbox game. There's a lot of history involved. Like I said, there's 3 different ways to play it. You have campaign, which has a lot of like just different scenarios you can play. Like I know one is like build a railroad, like build the Transcontinental Railroad. Get across the mountains in California. There's another one that's
Make all the minorities of America make the railroad.
Jesus Christ.
they actually mentioned that in that game too.
Oh.
Adam, why are you being so offensive lately?
He's taking my role for the night. But anyway,
Okay.
Well, it's not like it's not true.
another one, the one I really loved the most. There were 2 that I really loved the most in this game, and one was, you would build the, I can't remember the name of it. It was like. It was in England, basically, and you would develop an entire railroad system for England. The other one I really liked was in Texas, and it would be right around the time like the Texas tea stuff started happening. Like we found oil there, and that map was really fun because not only were you doing like Texas stuff and delivering oil and coffee, you would actually be able to go build over to Mexico.
Oh, that's cool.
And this actually happened at the time around when Pancho Villa and his rebels were going around, and there was actually parts of the game where if you have rail line into Mexico, it will get destroyed because they'll be like, well, the rebels came and destroyed your railroad line, and it will cost you like probably like a couple grand worth of track that
Yeah, I
you've
can
laid, which
imagine.
can get really annoying. But it's really historically accurate. And I think that's really where a lot of my love for the game came. In addition to like my love of trains, was that there's a lot of history put into it. Like obviously the sandbox is there for when you want to kind of when you want to goof around.
Yeah.
But I think I've really come to have a more appreciation for it over the years just because of the campaign and the amount of detail put into it.
That makes sense.
Well, as Pancho Villa would say, Libertad y Terra. Liberty and land. That was actually a slogan.
That's actually mentioned in that game too.
No, alrighty. My number 8 is probably like the only arcade game on this. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time.
which we actually played here
Turtle
at work.
Power.
We have
We
the
played,
arcade cabinet.
Yeah, we
played. Well, you guys played it. We played.
Yeah.
You and I played TMNT 1.
Yeah, we did.
Me and Doug played the second one.
Because we got to the sewer level.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually got really far in that game.
Turtles in Time. I played it just because like. I actually almost said this or the Simpsons arcade game because I love both of them. Just how much detail is in those games, how much they reference the shows they're from. The fact that they're beat 'em ups that like actually feel good to waste quarters on. Fun fact: I actually played this at a skating rink when I was in 8th grade because I didn't want to actually roller skate. I spent $15 in quarters on this game. Like not just like with me, like I spent it for like everybody so that we could actually beat the game. But I am very familiar with this game just because like, I mean, granted, like, it's very much the 84 show or the 87 show. You know, the Shredder and Krang steal the Statue of Liberty. The Turtles go after him. But in reality, it's actually a ploy so that they can send the Turtles back through time. And so they have to fight their way back in order to stop Shredder and Krang and put the statue back. But otherwise, it's just a fun game, seeing the Turtles go through these different timelines, seeing what villains are going to be there. Particularly one of my favorites is the fact that they actually reference the TMNT 2 movie, because this arcade cabinet came out around the same time as the TMNT second movie, where you fight Tokka and Razar. Or for those of you who only played the Super NES version, Bebop and Rocksteady. Although to be fair, I think Tokka and Razar are more interesting here just because it's fun to see them. There's a few different changes between it and the Super NES game. For example, you fight the Rat King or the Rat King at the end of the sewer level instead of the pizza xenomorphs. And yes, those are xenomorphs. There's an episode where the Turtles fight the aliens from Alien.
I know.
Crossovers.
Well, no, the idea is that Krang gives them these eggs from Dimension X that hatch via microwave radiation. So they put them onto pizzas, knowing the Turtles will microwave the pizzas. And yeah, it's
Hashtag Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hashtag Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's turbo excellent, dude.
But I said, I love these games, and honestly, my only really complaint is that later ports of this game, like particularly the 3D remake of this, Turtles in Time Reshelled, they only do the arcade version, so you don't get any of the cool newer level like extras that the Super NES game had. And the other being that they used the voices from the Fox or the 4Kids TMNT show,
No.
which is not a bad thing because I don't mind that show, but like those characters doing the voices for the 89 Turtle, it doesn't mesh.
Yeah.
Like the only one who works is Mikey's just because it's Michelangelo. Which is kind of hilarious, especially on the pirate level. Whenever you smack your foot and my toe, or when they die, oh, shell shock. Like I said, I love this game, and there's a lot of really fun moments. Like one of the early levels is you're fighting across a bridge, and Krang has made his robot body like super big, like in one of the first episodes, and he's just trying to smash you and like hit you with laser beams and stuff as you're trying to get across. But overall, I just really love that game. It's probably one of my what I think of when I think of an arcade beat 'em up, aside from like the Simpsons arcade. Like I think both are just really fun beat 'em ups. Like there's not many that can top these, more or less. Also, if you play as Leonardo or Donatello, because they're the best ones because they have the most range. So, what's your next one?
My next one is one that is frequently memed, not only on the internet by me and my co-host here. Resident Evil Director's Cut for the PS1.
What is it, Colton?
Oh, you were almost a Jill sandwich.
Take this, Jill. It's a weapon. It's powerful against living things.
What about you, Barry? Don't worry, Jill. I've got this.
One of these days, one of these Halloweens, I'm going as Barry from that game.
Oh god.
I have my Jill Stars beret somewhere. But anyway, this was actually the first Resident Evil game I ever played. I was aware of Resident Evil for a long time. I'd seen some people play it before, primarily Resident Evil 4. But I just was never really into the survival horror game stuff. By the time I got my PS2, I was really into shooters and open world stuff and, kind of cartoon beat 'em up stuff. I wasn't really into survival horror. primarily because I was never really a horror movie guy. Especially when I was younger. Like, I got scared a lot easily. Like, I remember being horrified the first time I ever watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one from '74. So when I got this, by the time I got this, I was really starting to kind of get into older video games. I had played through a lot of the Tomb Raider games prior to this for the PS1. And so, in addition to watching like James Rolfe on YouTube and stuff, and really getting into retro gaming, I decided, okay, I need to start getting some more PS1 games. I need to start getting some older stuff just to kind of experience stuff. And I was at a secondhand store, and Resident Evil Director's Cut was there, and I was like, well, I've never really played Resident Evil, but that's a series that everybody recognizes, so I might as well go ahead and pick it up and play it. I threw it in the PS2 when I got home, and was promptly lost within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Did not know what the hell I was
that's a very god dang it game. My only real complaint is that you played the Director's Cut version, and that actually has they had to change the entire score. So
yeah, I have both versions now, so I've gone back and played. But I put the Director's Cut down primarily just because that was the first one I ever played.
I can't blame you there. That's like my only complaint with that game is I don't like the change in the soundtrack because it's not very good. At least to me, I personally prefer the original versions.
The score.
But to be fair, the other game pretty much like it's pretty much the same game other than it has I think DualShock.
Yeah, there's a couple. That was primarily the big thing with Resident Evil 1 Director's Cut was that it had the DualShock one, and actually, interestingly enough, there's two different versions of this game. So basically, the DualShock one that everybody knows is the greatest hits version with the ugly ass green PS1 logo. It has a totally different cover. It's a one-disc version. The original Resident Evil Director's Cut came out because Resident Evil 2 got delayed.
Well,
and so they're like, well, the movie was coming out, so they're like, well, we gotta have something to kind of drum up some excitement. So they just re-released the game. Now, originally, it was supposed to have the original intro cutscene, which, for those who have played the original one, like the very original Resident Evil, has probably one of the funniest and, honestly, I think coolest live-action intros of anything from the 90s.
No! Don't go! Joseph!
Yeah.
Wait, so...
I love it.
Was live action cutscenes in the original? Or
Yeah.
just
Anyway, I'm getting there.
Yeah,
so basically
okay,
what
sorry.
happened was the original game shipped with it being black and white, and they cut some stuff out of it because they thought it would be too gory, even though the game's rated M.
Yeah.
So what happened was people found out in the very early days of the internet that, hey, the original game, as in Japan, has a different cutscene open, which is in color, it's got more gore, and so people kind of wanted it, and they were trying to get it imported, which... Trying to get imports to play on a PS1 is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you pretty much have to take the PS1 apart in order to make it work.
Yeah, so basically Capcom decided, okay, we'll re-release it because not only does it allow us to kind of get ready for Resident Evil 2, it also will give us something else to kind of tide things over. So what they did was they did Resident Evil Director's Cut, which is funny because the main draw of it has the unedited cutscene. However, it doesn't. It's the color version, but it's still censored.
Yeah. For instance, I know there's one where I think is it Chris? Or no, it's Barry. Barry picks up the gun, and it's got a separate.
No, that's
that's
Joseph. That's when Joseph gets killed.
Yeah, because he picks up a gun with a severed hand on it, and then he gets killed by one of the dogs. But yeah, no, it is still like it's still not uncut. I don't think they ever did the full cut until it got ported to the PS3.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it's freely available on YouTube now.
Yeah.
It was on the PC version. The PC version is what really had it.
And it's kind of funny because you can kind of tell it's edited, particularly when they do the introduction to all the Stars members because they're in color compared to.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people used to think, oh, well, George A. Romero wrote the story for. Was it? No. Romero didn't.
Romero was originally pegged to write the script for the first Resident Evil movie. But he actually had somebody sit down and play the game in front of him. He took notes on everything, and then what happened was he had some disagreements, and they stopped.
I think he did do the script for Resident Evil 2, though. I thought he helped them.
No,
write
he didn't do that.
I know. Well, he loved this series.
Like I said, when he got tapped to do the movie, which would have been the greatest thing ever, because it's George Romero.
It's George Romero.
It's George Romero doing Resident Evil.
Like even his worst things, like some of the later
Dead series.
Yeah, Dead series are really weird, but they're still fun to watch.
Was one of them Land of the Dead or?
Yeah, Land of the Dead is one of them.
Yeah, that's the one I think it's where it's like POV or something like that.
Yeah, but
it's not very good.
They pegged him to do the movie.
Yeah,
and he had somebody sit down and play it in front of him, and he would just sit there and make notes. So he was into it. Like he was gonna make a pretty faithful adaptation of it. His script got leaked. Like, you can find it online, and it's, for the most part, it's basically blow for blow the game.
We ought to
there's
do
some
that.
changes.
We gotta do that
Raiders of the Lost
script from
Script.
Raiders of the Lost Script one of these days.
I can find it. I think I have it somewhere, but I mean, there's some changes here and there, but for the most part, it's basically blow for blow the game. It's far better than the craptastic movie series we got.
Well, Colton, that sounds like shit. How about instead we get W.S. Anderson and we'll just do a movie about how hot his wife is?
And fun fact, there's actually Resident Evil novels. So like, there was a novelization of this game, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Code Veronica, and Resident Evil 0.
Is there one for Code Betty?
No. Get out of here. But so anyway, getting back to later on, I picked the game up again because I was like, I really want to get into Resident Evil, and I feel like part of the issue too when I first played it was I didn't have a PS1 memory card, and you can't save PS1 data to a PS2 memory card, which was really dumb. So you had to have a PS1 memory card. So I ended up buying one off my buddy from high school because he had one. And I was like some of the memory cards so I can play this game. Sat down and I was like, okay, I'm gonna play this. So like, with my trusty internet guide off GameFAQs.com.
Yeah. I remember.
I proceeded to play the game. I played as Jill because I always play as Jill.
Well, then to be fair, if you want an easier time with that game, play as Jill.
I always play as females in games.
Well,
that's usually what I do. But
as an aside, Jill has 8 slots and doesn't need to carry keys because she has a lockpick. Well, she needs certain keys.
She's the master of unlocking.
Take this, Jill. I figure it would help serve you, the master of unlocking. Whereas Chris only has 6 slots,
and he has to find keys.
And he has to find keys in order to make his way around the mansion. So if you want an easier time playing it for newcomers, play as Jill because it's just easier to play as her.
Additionally, Rebecca Chambers, the sole survivor of Bravo team, doesn't show up if you play as Jill. She only shows up if you play as Chris.
There's also a lot of inconsistencies just because
they clearly weren't looking to make that a series.
Well, A, that, and B, the sequel implies that all of them pretty much live, which Barry is pretty much dead. I thought, or like
he lives.
I thought he got in terms of one, I thought he got shot or something.
No, he's fine.
Okay, I can't remember because
Well, and again, the game itself has been remade. They remade it around around 2000, 2001.
And that's technically, I think, the canonical version of the game.
Yeah, that's the one that's canon now. That and Zero are the canon ones. And basically, I've played that as well. But the first one I really have some fond memories of. It's just, I remember being really drawn in. Like, the atmosphere was great.
Oh, yeah.
Being around the mansion and, there being, certain rooms you went into, there's no music.
Yeah.
And there's no sound. And you're just I really was drawn into it. And that was really what gave my love of the series was the first one. I've played all the rest of them, but one is always the one I go back to. Anymore, I play the remake a lot more. Yeah. But I'm always tempted to go back and play the first one. And I actually have both versions. I have the director's cut one, and I have the original one.
I still get chills when you first encounter the dog when it comes to that.
Yeah. I have my TV turned up on max.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's all quiet, and then it scared the shit out of me.
Whoa. That or if you're one of those curious people who tries to leave out the door, you come in and the dog you have to force the door back. Oh, that was so cool.
Real quick, just to wrap up, something I brought up earlier that I realized we kind of got sidetracked on. Anyway, when they re-released this game for Director's Cut, there's 2 different versions of it. There's one that came out with a demo disc for Resident Evil 2, which, fun fact, it's very rare, but some of those copies shipped with the original version of Resident Evil 2. Because there was a scrap version.
Yeah.
And then there was another one, but some of them got leaked out.
Yeah.
So they got released, and then they redid them, and it had the correct demo on it. But those ones are pretty rare. And then, again, when they did the Greatest Hits version, the primary thing was you can use DualShock. And I'm like, I find all those games easier to play with the D-pad.
They are. Honestly, for me, the only thing that's really exciting with the DualShock with that is just the fact that it vibrates at certain things.
Well, the D-pad, you have a lot more fluid control, I feel.
Because the problem with the PS1 is a lot of the early games in the PS1's lineup use tank, especially because that game uses tank controls,
and
but
has fixed camera angles.
Yeah. Before Crash Bandicoot, most PS1 games use tank controls or something because there was nothing. There was no standard for the analog stick. But that's one of those games I'm like, it doesn't really matter if you use the analog sticks or not. Just use the D-pad. All right, so moving on to my number 7. It's another Game Boy game. It's Wario Land 3. Now, I've played pretty much every single Wario Land game aside from, like, Shake It, which I didn't have a Wii, which I would love to have it, but I unfortunately don't have a Wii at the moment. That's Wario World for the GameCube, but
Oh, I love that game.
no, that game is
That's
really good.
a great game. Oh god, I love
But I
that.
played pretty much every one of them except for Wario Land 2. But to be fair, Wario Land 3 is so good, I don't really mind. But Wario Land 3 is so fun because, okay, so the basic premise is Wario was one day flying with his plane, and it crashes. And basically he gets drawn to this cave which has a music box in it. And when he picks the music box up, this weird light comes out and transports him into the music box. And this mysterious god of that world is like, I need your help. These monsters have sealed away my power in these 5 music boxes scattered throughout this world. I can't send you back out of the music box until you find all of them. And Wario, this is like one of the few games where Wario is legitimately not like treasure hunting or causing mischief. He legitimately is stuck there, and he has to be a hero in order to get out. Although the god's like, now if you whatever treasure you find, you're gonna keep. And so Wario's like, you got it, baby. Let's go. And that's the basic plot. The game is really neat because basically, in order to get more levels, you have to find treasures in each world. Basically, there's 4 treasures per each stage, and you have to find the matching each a certain color: red, gray, green, and blue. Red is the easiest, or gray is the easiest to find because usually you can find the key right next to the gray treasure chest. But like all the other ones have a varying difficulty of like how much you have to do to get them. Red, usually you have to play this golf mini game in order to get past a door. Green, it's usually you have to do like a bunch of stuff to do, and blue is usually the hardest. Basically, you have to scour the whole level for the blue. And basically you have to find these treasures, and they'll do something. Like, the first level, you have this tree, and you can't go anywhere. So you have to find the first treasure, which is an axe, and you cut the tree down, and you go to the next area. Certain areas are also changed depending on what time of day it is. Basically, you have a day and night cycle, but it only changes whenever you beat a level. So if you beat a level when it's day, the next level will be night. But basically, it's a really fun puzzle game. Now, it's one of those Wario Land games where you can't die, but the thing is, basically the monsters in the game, if they hit you, either knock you back or put you into a form, one of the many forms Wario has, and sometimes you don't need those forms, and it basically stalls you out. Also, the bosses in this are all one-hit KOs, technically, because basically, if they hit you once, it causes you to get knocked out of the arena, and you have to fight them all over again. Like, their health resets, and you have to beat them
It's
again.
one of those games.
Yeah, because you can't die. But like the thing is though, like every time you get hit, it makes it so you can't progress for some reason, or like say you're climbing up a thing and this robot slices you in half and you become Cut Mario or Paper Mario or Wario, where you literally split in half and you'll fall off the stage and then you'll repair yourself. Wario has a lot of my favorites is Fire Wario. It's not like Mario where he eats a fire. Literally, he gets lit on fire and he runs around until he becomes literally like a pillar of flame. And you need to do that to get through certain blocks, because certain blocks can only be destroyed by fire. And then after it goes out, he's like covered in soot and he just coughs and like all the soot falls off him. It's really funny, but I love that game because like I have scoured that game for every treasure. Like it's so fun to look for treasures, to figure out, you know, where does this like this new power up take you, or like where's this thing like, because all the treasures either do something to the area, or it gives you a power-up, like it increases the strength of Wario's body slam, or it lets you break blocks with your head. Like, you jump and you can break blocks with your head and stuff like that. It's just super fun. And even though, like, it even has some really fun bosses. Like, there's a boss where literally you fight this ghost of a pirate captain, and you have to knock all the skulls off these torches that are in the area, because basically you need to relight all the torches so that the light vanquishes it. Or you're in this swamp and you come across this like netting on the side of a wall, and this thing, this weird lizard thing comes out of the water and tries to knock you off, but you have to like get above or below it to like hit it on its belly or the top of it, or else you'll get knocked off and like pushed by the current. And you have to climb back all the way there. It's just really fun, and like it's really creative. That's one of the reasons why I like the Wario Land games so much, is that they're just more creative than Mario in certain ways. But yeah, no, and it's, like I said, it's one of those Game Boy games I played a lot growing up. That's why it's probably one of my more top ones. There's some more coming up, but like this is one of my favorites. And I recommend playing it if you really love Game Boy games.
Yeah, because of your list, because I actually want to mention some games, so I don't want to overstep yours.
What are you doing? What are you doing that if you don't?
Oh,
Yeah.
I just. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Doug.
So I'm going to mention some of my games. So I didn't see on your list. Speaking of Mario games, I gotta say I loved Mario Party 4 as a kid. I remember playing that. I imagine there are, of course, I tried like Mario Party 1 on.
So many marriages have been broken because of Mario Party.
Yeah, I also played like I think 6 and I think the one at Riley's place. I forget which one the newest one.
Oh, why'd you steal a star from me? You could have stolen one from Yoshi. Yoshi hasn't disappointed me recently.
But no, actually, no, it's weird. Actually, to tie into your thing, I always love playing as Wario.
No.
Wario's fun to play.
I always play as Wario or Waluigi when I play Mario Party.
And actually, not doing that, I didn't always just play by myself a lot of times. I actually once, as a kid, tried to play all like the maps and characters, which of course I never got 100%. But I was like, that's how much I love that game.
Oh yeah, that's a good solid game.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to move on to yours?
Yeah. Going on to a game that was really one of the first PS2 titles I played, because I got a PS2 for Christmas one year with a bunch of games. This was one of the games in there that it didn't have any artwork. It was just a blank case. And I popped it open and I looked at it, and it had a white background with a dude holding a Colt 45, and I'm like, that looks kind of fun. Let me put that in. That game is probably an indicator of how young I played it at and why I'm so screwed up. That is Grand Theft Auto 3. I was 8 years old and I was playing Grand Theft Auto 3. I probably shouldn't have been playing that
I'm kind
game.
of surprised you said that, because usually most people, I think...
Whoa.
There goes the light.
And there goes the light.
We can use my light.
No, hang on, I got...
All right.
If you want to pop,
going on script here, folks.
if you want to pop yours on too, Doug, because I don't know
Okay.
how well mine will...
going retro night on this one.
It had like
This is
it had almost
nighttime.
full battery though, which is what gets me.
Where's the-
But,
wait.
so anyway, you might as well continue on with.
Yeah, so again, Grand Theft Auto 3, first 3D Grand Theft Auto, because everything prior to this was a top-down.
Yeah.
And really,
There we go.
from what I've watched online, because I was too young to remember this, I didn't have a PS2 at the time. I remember playing this game
Yeah.
at a friend. My mom had a friend who had a son that was older than me by a lot, and they were playing this game. And I was over one time, and I took a couple turns on it and had fun. Then I probably forgot about it until years later when I was playing it. And I'm looking at some of the scenery, and I'm like, I remember this game. But really, it's the first game I played that had a lot of violence in it. Just flat out it's because it's a crime game. You're stealing cars, you're shooting people. There's gang warfare going on. There's prostitutes walking around. Again, I probably shouldn't have been playing it as young as I did. But that's what really kicked off my love of the series, because I've played all of them. I've played everything up to
turn it around.
GTA 5. And including all the old ones. I went back and retrospectively played the top-down ones. But this was really the one I have the most love for, just because I remember getting this game and I was obsessed with it for like months. It was like the only game I played, just because I was like, I had never played anything like it. Like, just the ability that not only, like, you can do missions and stuff, but you can just drive around and cause utter chaos.
Yeah, that is one of the...
That was one of the main draws. It's just, you can really do whatever you want.
Yeah. And, I think that says a lot about those games, just because, like, a lot of sandbox games really want you to, like, go along a story path. And sometimes it's in a way that, like, if you get off the story, you'll probably lose a lot of where you're going. So, like, it's better to do the main story and then do all the stuff that's around it after, which is frustrating in a lot of ways. Like, that's one of the things I give, like, the Arkham City credit for. Like, they make it so that you want to try and do as much as you can on the way to a mission.
Yeah.
Or at least the main story mission.
I gotta say, I'm more of a Vice City guy. That's more of the best of the games.
I prefer GTA London. No casuals. Does anybody remember GTA London?
I didn't know that's a real thing.
I actually no.
You didn't?
No.
Basically, there's Grand Theft Auto 1 on
Yeah.
the PC. Then there was an expansion pack called Grand Theft Auto London, which takes place in the 60s.
God.
And you're just in London doing stuff. And then there's GTA 2. And I think there was actually another GTA London game. I think the first one was like 1962, and the other one was like 1969.
Okay. Of course, it was 1969.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. Like, the early ones are weird. Like, GTA 2 takes place in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the future. And the guy looks a lot like Claude from GTA 3, the silent protagonist of the game. He looked same clothes and everything. It's really cool. honestly. But
I prefer the ultimate Grand Theft Auto like experience, Bully.
Jesus Christ.
I prefer driver.
That wasn't that bad of a game.
Actually, I was just being a smart.
I know,
Although
that's
I've
hilarious.
actually always kind of wanted to play Bully because Bully sounds kind of fun, where you get to be like the top dog at a school.
One of these days I'll
That's
pick
kind
that
of an
up
interesting.
and maybe we'll
Well,
do
you
a
work
let's
your way
play
up
of
to
it.
that.
Yeah, well, that was kind of an interesting because I'm like, that's kind of a neat idea where like you play as like this, like you influence like because like school kind of is kind of like that in some regards.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting idea. Number 6 for me is a fighting game. It's the one that is my favorite of this franchise, Tekken 3. So like my definitive fighting games experience is Tekken. I love Tekken. Tekken is so fun. I love in my opinion, this does the whole like tournament fighter where everyone's from a different country the best because everyone's fighting style is based on that country. It's not like, well, here we have Vega in Street Fighter, and his ability is he has a claw weapon. Or
I'm here for you, boss.
Or Dalsim, who he practices yoga martial arts, but he also can stretch his limbs and spit fire. I like Tekken because well, yes, there are some fanciful things like robots and a kangaroo with boxing gloves and a velociraptor with boxing gloves.
What?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Hashtag video games.
Hashtag video games. But I like all the fighters because I actually think that they wear like the traditional fighting like garb of that country. They practice the martial. I love Eddie Gordo because he's Brazilian and his fighting style is capoeira, and he fights with capoeira. I like
What about Hachi?
Heihachi.
Heihachi, I mean.
Well, I love Heihachi. His giant eyebrows.
Does he send people to the moon on a rocket?
That was only one game.
Okay,
That is Street Fighter.
Wait,
Street Fighter, you asshole.
Just to give people a reference, that's the special move he does in PlayStation All-Star Battle All-Stars.
Yeah, the less we say about PlayStation All Stars, the better.
I don't know if you know,
Thank very much.
I prefer Mortal Kombat, the movie tie-in game.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, that thing is such a mess. Oh. Of all the Street Fighter games you could play.
Sorry.
Mortal Kombat.
All right.
Street Fighter, I prefer Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition.
But it sounds like it's actual, it's like MMA in a way.
Yeah.
It's actual fighting.
Well, actually, in Tekken 4, they introduced an MMA fighter.
Nice.
But like I said, much like Colton with the last one, Tekken 3, I played the crap out of. I played every game mode. They have a volleyball mode in that where it's literally you're just doing fighting moves while knocking a volleyball around.
It's funny.
I played through I played through the beat 'em up game, which is a hard son of a gun to do. I unlocked every character for that game. I also think it's probably the one that has the closest to the arcade feel, in terms of the first three. Pretty much every game afterwards still feels but for me, that was the definitive. If you want to play a Tekken game, it feels and looks like it's the arcade. You play Tekken 3 because that is the one for me that is the most arcadey and it's just a solid game in my opinion. Favorite characters to play are Jin, Eddie, of course, Gon the dinosaur,
Jeez.
which is a manga tie-in. But yeah, that like I said, that's just one of my favorite fighting games of all time. It was I think I played it a lot in my senior years in high school just because I loved that game so much. All right, going on to your number 5 then.
Go ahead, Doug.
Sorry. Actually, I think I'll maybe introduce now just a short thing of my games.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Sure. Okay. Sorry. So for my thing, I'm gonna cheat because I don't have a list, but I'm gonna include 2 games. They're just sequels. Spyro 2 and Spyro 3.
Oh, those are so good.
But here's the thing. So I never played Spyro 1 as a kid other than one time going to...
You didn't really miss much. I like Spyro 1, but it's very simple compared to the other 2.
I actually played all 3 last year I played all 3. And 1 was fine, but 2 and 3... 2, I don't know which one's better, to be honest, but they're both really fun.
Honestly, for me, I kind of like 2 a little bit more than 3, but I think that's just because 2 has a bit more of a straight up story.
Yeah.
Whereas 3, you have to get all the eggs in order to actually get the full story.
Yeah, and okay, that's another thing. I'll be honest, a lot about these collecting games back in the day. I cannot imagine doing them without the internet now. I don't know how, as a kid, I had the patience to try.
You were expected to have a lot of time to waste.
Well, to be fair, that's the thing I like about Spyro 1, because Spyro 1 is very simple. You collect
Yeah.
all the gems for a stage, you find all the dragons. Occasionally there will be a dragon egg, but
But-
they stopped doing the dragon eggs after like the third world.
But here's the thing about 3 though. I think it's 3 though. I don't know about 2. With Sparks, your
Oh, yeah,
dragonfly,
no.
you can use it to find
Yeah,
gems. Because that's a
Yeah, because in the
God.
first game you didn't have any way of knowing, because like literally you could find every gem except one.
Oh yeah,
And you had to scour the whole level to find it.
It did not make it fun to complete it.
Thankfully, in 2 and 3, they made it that if you press a button on one, I think one of the shoulder buttons, Sparks will actually point in a direction of a gem you're looking for.
Yep.
That's his little dragonfly.
That's why I couldn't play these games as a kid. Besides the fact I didn't have a PS1, but it's like that would have grinded my OCD.
Oh no,
to the
you
absolute
would have
extreme.
probably
like
spent
grind my
you probably would have
gears.
spent hours trying to collect every single thing in that game. Those games are hard, especially because in 2 and 3, while I do love them, my only complaint with them is there are a couple of levels where you have to get power-ups that you only get later on in the game, like
Yeah.
certain and money bags. I hate that damn
but
bear so much.
But number 3 is cathartic because at
yeah,
the
no.
end you can you chase him around one world and
Yeah.
you get all your gems back. It was so awesome.
Oh, and 2, you get all your gems back. You get from him too at the end, but
you
you
don't-
don't get to do anything fun with it.
Yeah, you
Basically,
don't-
they make money back. Moneybags is this bear who
Is he like Banjo Kazooie?
No,
he's this asshole bear in a top hat and a suit, and basically he'll hold
Asshole bear.
He's a British.
no he'll
shuffle.
hold like power up towers that you need to run through to get power ups, and like other things. He won't let you use them unless you have enough gems.
Oh, I don't know.
And
if
you
can
don't
come
you don't
past
get
here.
you don't get to keep if he's in a level and not like the hub world. You have no gems. You only have the gems you collected in that world because
Yeah.
you store all your gems in the hub world.
Yeah.
So it's a pain in the
Basically,
ass.
it's like paying. Imagine paying a really expensive bill. Like that's every time you gotta go somewhere.
Taxation is theft.
Yeah.
That's
Actually, it kind of is because at least in the
And he's a
second game,
dick-
because
he's a dick.
yeah, he is such a dick. I hate him so much. That bear is like the bane of my existence. I hate that bear.
I'm
He's the
gonna have to
worst parts-
cancel. Gonna have to cancel my Halloween costume now.
He's the worst parts of
Oh,
capitalism.
you were gonna be Moneybags? This
I
character
feel
you
like I
never
come
heard?
in and I'm just gonna get murdered on
Yeah,
the
we'll be-
floor.
It'll bring back some memories. So, yeah, no, those
Look,
were.
Colton, I know you said you were gonna Winnie the Pooh it, but that's not what I meant.
Oh.
That's not what that means.
So yeah, that was a game. Those are games I love as a kid, like growing up.
All right, my number 5 is Drake and Josh on the Game Boy Advance. No,
Oh,
it's really not.
Wait, that's a thing? Is that a real game?
That's a stealth game.
What?
You gotta pass me.
What?
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah,
What?
I'm dead serious. I'm dead fucking
I'll be
serious.
honest, I'm not that surprised. That's what Nickelodeon does.
Oh, and I thought Corey in the House on the DS was weird.
No, come on, that was great. That was-
You do not know.
Oh, and
Stop that.
y'all want to hear like a bitted version of the main theme? It's like it sounds
Oh
horrible.
no! Stop! Go to your number 5.
It's
Am
the
I-
game
Number
spirit.
5.
No, it's not the game sphere.
It's
Miracle. We'll have to do a Drake and Josh retrospective at some point. But anyway, my number 5 is actually somewhat of an oddity for this series, and it's really been maligned a lot by people. It really was when it came out, but I really have a love for the game, just because I think it has the most interesting story out of the whole series, and that's actually
Now, come on, Colton. You said you weren't going to do Arkham Knight.
it's not Arkham Knight. Get the fuck out of here. It's actually Tomb Raider: Angel of Darkness.
Oh yeah, we've talked about this one.
For those who don't know, Tomb Raider: Angel of Darkness was the first Tomb Raider game on the PS2.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be a launch title, but it got delayed. And this game went through a lot of production issues.
Yeah, I actually know a lot about this from watching Matt McMuscle's What Happened about this.
It actually led to the company that created Tomb Raider getting it yanked away by the parent company and given to another
Yeah.
company.
Which is now Square Enix.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Crystal Dynamics is who they
Actually,
gave
to
it
be
to.
fair,
I know,
it's
but
not a bad reboot, but I kind of prefer them.
Yeah, I prefer
they
original
have
art.
unusual hair.
What I
and
really
color.
love is that it feels like a movie at a lot of points. It was actually supposed to come out to promote the movie,
Yeah,
but because it got delayed, they were like, okay, we'll just do Tomb Raider Chronicles on the PS1.
yeah.
And what I kind of like is that it really is the conclusion to what's really a trilogy with Tomb Raider. With Tomb Raider 4, The Last Revelation, the end of the game is Lara defeating the final god. I think it's the god Horus, because it's in Egypt.
Yeah.
Because of course. But
she do it with a card game?
No.
It's time to duel.
No, it's not fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Get out of here. But anyway, this pyramid's collapsing and she falls into it. And she's assumed dead.
Yeah, she do.
But basically, so everybody thinks she's dead when it goes into Chronicles. So the game is actually people reminiscing on her adventures.
Oh yeah,
they
I've heard
think
about
she's
this.
dead.
Yeah.
But the end of the game is her mentor, Werner von Croy, finding her backpack and being like, she's alive.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness was supposed to wrap everything up. However, because of all the delays that went through, and they were really pushing, like, you got to get this game out this year. We've had enough delays. Get the game out.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, from what I know, like they actually had a different control scheme in mind because they wanted to use the D-pad.
Yes, and Sony basically told them, no, take that out. We're only using analogs. We're only using analog sticks now. We're not doing D-pad stuff. And it basically, for all intents and purposes, broke the game.
Yeah.
Because there's controls fine. There's a little bit of a delay that it takes a little getting used to. Once you get used to it, it's fair. But again, that was really why it got maligned a lot by critics, was because people were like, the controls are horrible. The storyline doesn't make a lot of sense. The storyline doesn't make a lot of sense because they cut a lot out of it.
Yeah.
There was actually enough on there that it probably could have been 2 games.
Yeah.
Because basically it was supposed to wrap up the trilogy. Like, getting back to what I was really talking about was that, so at the end of Chronicles, they find her backpack.
Yeah.
Angel of Darkness picks up when Laura is back in society. There was a lot of background going on with this that basically she stopped tomb raiding. You know, she was kind of secluded in her mansion. People were assuming she was drinking. She wasn't seeing anybody. And what happened was...
Nothing is ever really good when you enter society again.
No, it's really not. But people equal shit, basically. But
okay, Slipknot.
Werner von Croy wants to meet with her, basically. And so she goes there, even though they're not really on speaking terms, because he was kind of the main bad guy of 4 because he was possessed by Horus.
Yeah.
So she kind of doesn't trust him at all. And they basically have this argument where he's like, you know, somebody's trying to kill me. I did this job for somebody because I needed something translated, but they're going to try to kill me now because I don't want to give it to them. And he's like, I need you to help me. And Laura's basically like, tough shit, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, you abandoned me, I don't give a shit. Well, and what happens is he gets murdered, and they instantly, because there's a serial killer going around Paris at this time called the Monstrum. The French police automatically assume it's Lara. So a lot of the game is she's trying to clear her name, investigate who actually killed him, and it just goes off the rails once it gets into the main storyline, because it's actually like there's like black magic going on. There's actually like ancient gods going on. It's really cool.
Does she use bungee cords in her mansion to fight a robot?
No.
Damn.
Well, and this is actually, it brings up, it has a lot of...
That's my favorite part of the first movie.
I actually don't like any of the movies.
The first one's not terrible, but
yeah,
it's understandable.
Getting back to it, the game has a lot of... It's really weird for a Tomb Raider game because there's a lot of RPG elements to it. Like, you can take alternate paths. There's a mission where you sneak into this Paris museum, which the name of it eludes me at the minute. It's where the Mona Lisa is. You can actually see it in the game.
The Louvre, yeah.
You can actually either kill all the guards in it or stun them all. And it leads, like, there's a lot of RPG elements like that where you can kind of decide how the game goes. The only problem I have with this game, and it's fair, is that it's really unfinished.
Yeah.
Like, near the end of the game especially, the storyline just doesn't make a lot of sense because they cut so much out of it.
Isn't there like a glitch in one of the games where you can literally like walk on air?
I can't remember which one. I don't think that's this one, but there's actually a great thread over at I think it's Tomb Raider forums where, and I mean, it's like 100 pages long, like a lot of pages of them reassembling the storyline for the game using like original design documents and interviews, and well, this would make sense to be logically where this is. It's really cool, and it really pieces the game back together. But like I said, the game is really unfinished, and you can really tell because, again, the control scheme is kind of broke. There's items that don't go anywhere. There's items and locations that are obviously not finished.
Yeah.
The biggest hint that this game was unfinished is there are certain missions later in the game where Lara basically doesn't have her trademark outfit. You know, the blue tank top and the khaki shorts.
Yeah.
She really wears a black tank top and camo for most of it with sunglasses, like a really darker color scheme to kind of go with the fact that she's been through a lot of shit and she's really fucked up.
Wait, I have a question. Is the game cover for the case for it? Is it her with like the glasses and like a grin, kind of, or not a grin, but like
that is
like her teeth are bared.
No, that is. I can't remember which one that is. That's the cover for it.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm thinking a different one. I know I saw that before.
Yeah.
Like,
But this is a big thing with it that I feel is the biggest trade away is that there are missions where later when you get that outfit, because basically for most of the early game she's just wearing jeans, a black tank top, and a jean jacket.
Yeah.
There are missions where she has the black tank top and long camo pants.
Yeah.
And then there are missions where that are like right after one another, where there's no time that she could have changed outfits.
Yeah.
She has camo shorts on now. Then the next mission, she's back to the long pants. It doesn't make a lot.
that's a really obvious continuity error right there.
Yeah, but again, the game wasn't finished. Despite that, despite its flaws, I really enjoy the game for the story. And even though the game is pretty flawed, I still feel like it's a lot of fun to play, and I don't really think it gets its due by critics a lot.
I think it's all fair for them to give so much flack to it. I mean, it's fair to point out those flaws, but the fact that like we know so much about how basically this game got screwed over by just Sony itself, which Sony never does is screw things over. Looking at you, Spider-Man. But I mean, they're doing better now. But
yeah,
How much time are we at? Just
hour and 10 minutes.
So yeah, I guess we'll move on to my next one, unless you got any more.
No, I'm pretty much done.
Right.
That's like I said, it's really my favorite Tomb Raider game of all of them.
My number 5 is a Game Boy Advance title known as Mega Man Battle Network 3. To give a quick summary of what the Battle Network series. Basically, it's an alternate timeline of the Mega Man series, where instead of making robots, Dr. Light worked on making artificial intelligence. Basically, in this world, every human has this thing called a personal terminal, or PET. And with it, they have a thing known as a net navigator, shortened to net navi. And basically, net navis are artificial intelligences that can go through networks on cars, on microwaves. Basically everything has like a digital world inside of it, because like that is how advanced technology has gotten. Like literally, almost everything in this world cannot be operated on unless you have a net navi. Like, in fact, I think cars in that world later on you have the net navi drive it, basically. Which, as you can tell, there's bad guys that, like, use this stuff for evil. No, well, particularly the villain group known as World 3, or WWW.
WWE?
No. Ran by this world's version of Dr. Wily, who is mad at the Dr. Light of this world because he wanted to make robots. Basically, Dr. Wily's the same as the Dr. Wily in the classic series. And basically he commits cybercrime. Most notably in the second game, where he hacks into the world's weather control systems and nearly causes Japan to sink into the ocean because of an earthquake. Because literally they use it to keep the Earth from having earthquakes. In fact, I want to say that's how they got past global warming in that world, is they literally use computers to control the weather. Which, yeah, nothing dangerous about that. But anyway, Battle Network 3 is my favorite just because I think it has the best story of all the games. It has the best combat system in the games. Basically, the premise of this game, or at least at the beginning, is Lan and his friends are competing in this tournament for net battling. What do you do with net navis? Because you can have your net navis fight each other in like a tournament sort of thing, but you usually use them to fight viruses and stuff that infect computers. And while this is going on, World 3 is trying to get these programs that they can use to free this thing known as Alpha, which you later find out is actually the original internet. You literally fight the internet in this game, because the original, you know how like we have Internet 1, Internet 2, and Internet 3? Well, actually, I think we're on Internet 2 currently, or maybe we're on Internet 3. But basically, like, there's like different levels, or like as the internet advances.
Mm-hmm.
When they wanted to put everything onto a network, they had this first internet known as Alpha. Unfortunately, Alpha had a huge flaw in it that basically caused it to absorb everything that you entered into the program, and it basically caused everything to become a part of it, and nearly caused the world's war systems to go berserk and like almost kill everybody.
Kind of like war games.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of. Except
just unplug the machine.
Except that like this, it's not like Joshua in that regard, because it's too primitive. Basically, it's like an animal in its thought processes.
Fucking animals.
Yeah. But
Riley to
basically,
guest star, just say that.
yeah, but basically, Lan and Mega Man, have to save the day as you do. But for me, I really love this game because it has my favorite bosses from the game. Like I love Beastman, who literally can like pop his arms off and he uses them as weapons to slash you, and he can even pop his head off and it comes at you. And like you do a lot of really interesting things in this game. Like you have to rescue Melu, who's one of the female Lan's friends, from getting killed by these evil washing machines that like have exploding bubbles.
Jeez.
Yeah. And overall, it's my favorite of the game. Like, I love all the battle chips you have in it, because in this, like, you can power up Mega Man by having these things that are basically, like, SD cards that have, like, a certain weapon in them.
Yeah.
If you combine certain ones, you get what's called a program advance, which gives you, like, a super move. But, like, I love the Battle Network games, and 3 is probably my favorite just because I like the stakes in this game, and I like it gives you a lot of history into, like, Lan's family and how they helped to create this network society that everyone lives in. It's very interesting in that regard. And it certainly doesn't have any left fields where you find out that Mega Man is actually based on your dead brother. Oh yeah, that's a thing in this world. Lan's father, basically Lan is a twin, and his brother dies because of this rare heart condition he has. So he uses his dead son's DNA to make Mega Man. Because like he's like, my son died, but he can live on as my son's personal.
This is why
buddy.
I don't play these games, man. This is too complicated.
Well, if you've played the games, it makes more sense.
Yeah,
it's I had to explain it because I know neither of you have played these games.
Yeah.
So it sounds very convoluted, but I promise you, if you play the games, it makes a lot
Look,
of
I'm an
sense.
anime fan. I'm used to this type of talk.
So let's get on to number 4 since we've
All right. Do you have anything to add, Doug, before I go ahead?
I'm gonna try to keep like very short like snippets on my thing. I'm gonna say one of my favorite games as a kid was I never played the first one, but I did like Kingdom Hearts 2.
I almost put Kingdom Hearts on this list
But
actually.
here's the thing.
I've only ever played the first one, so.
So here's the
You were
thing.
lucky.
So first off, I understand like from some of the Let's Plays I've seen, people doing about Kingdom Hearts. There is of course some. I know this word may be a bit too overused, but maybe a little cringe or like a little embarrassing.
Okay,
stuff.
if you're playing
You think
Kingdom
the
Hearts,
Zelda timeline is confusing?
oh no,
Oh no!
no. Let me tell you,
No.
like Kingdom Hearts, it's literally like the Star Wars timeline, and I'm not even making a joke because literally they have Jedis in this game.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
they're
I
not
know.
technically Jedis, but the Keyblade Masters, and literally one of them is voiced by Mark fucking Hamill.
Yeah,
Of
that's
course,
true.
Mark is in everything.
Oh, and here's a beauty of number 2. You actually not only did you have to play number 1 to kind of get it, which
Oh yeah, you have to play a Game Boy game in order to actually understand
Which-
because it
yeah,
literally
which-
it's the actual continuation of the plot.
so of course, other than that though, I do think it was a great experience. Like that's how I feel.
I
about
would
it.
agree with you because in terms of the combat and the fighting systems and stuff, I think 2 is the best of like the probably most of the games other than 3, just because 3
Yeah.
is obviously.
Or,
But for me, 2 is probably my favorite just because I think I enjoy the worlds you can go to in this one more than the first game.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that the combat system's a lot more streamlined in this game. And overall, I think it's more interesting.
I also like the idea, it's convoluted, the idea of the nobodies, but
Oh, yeah.
it's so, especially when you're growing up, like, as a teenager, like a young teenager, you eat this up, the idea of, like, fighting this, like, like, somewhat sympathetic, but still evil, organization, having this magical power and being able to connect at, like, emotional level with these different characters. It may be a bit sappy, but for experience, I really enjoyed it. That's what my final thoughts on that.
Anyway, if you want to go on to your number 4.
Yeah, my number 4 is a game that really has received a lot of critical acclaim when it came out. I picked it up probably about a year after it came out, and I remember picking it up on a whim because a friend of mine really liked it, and she was like, you should play it, and you'd probably enjoy it. So I picked it up one day. I think I had like $60 left in the bank, and I think I spent like 40 of them on this game because I was like, all right, she says I'll enjoy this game, I'll play it. That game is The Last of Us.
Hey, look, you're trading on some mighty thin ice here.
Yeah, I love this game. When I first started playing it, I was really blown away by the story.
Yeah.
It really felt like a game that was like written almost like a movie.
Right.
Like it played really good as a game. I loved the mechanics in the game. How there were stealth sections, and then there were scenes where like you had to like kind of gun your way through But it wasn't like a typical like just shoot everything that moves kind of thing. You really had to like have
Yeah.
tactics and play a lot. Basically, to kind of poorly sum up the game, because there's a lot going on in this series, and the sequel's coming out later this year, actually, which I'm really
Yeah, I
excited
forgot
about.
that they were
It's gonna be
doing
on
that
2
finally.
discs, man. That's how long it's gonna be.
Holy
2
jeez.
discs. in
We're,
this
we're
damn day
going
and
back
age.
to we're going backwards.
Yeah.
That's how
Oh,
long,
God.
That's how long this game is. So I'm gonna be calling off from work for a week. Y'all, I hope y'all
Oh,
have
no,
fun.
you're not.
I hope y'all have
That'll be
fun.
less of you if you do that. No.
But basically, an outbreak happens, and it's kind of like a fungus. Basically, it takes over your brain and it corrupts you.
A
Basically,
fungus
into-
that's among us.
no. Well, here's the creepy thing: the fungus they base it on is actually real.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
It actually, I don't think I told you about it. It's a real thing. It only works on ants.
Oh, I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah, and they make the ants
They become
get
basically
eaten
like
by
mindless
cows.
zombies.
Yeah, and they pilot the ants to get eaten by cows.
That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
So it's kind of creepy once I found that out. But basically, that an outbreak happens and it goes worldwide
Yeah.
and it kills off a lot of people. And basically, society collapses.
Yeah.
And
It's zombie apocalypse.
It's kind of like Fallout a lot. Yeah, it's kind of like a zombie apocalypse, but it's not really zombies.
Yeah.
And the main plot follows these two characters. One is named Joel.
Yeah.
Now, Joel is the main character you play as throughout most of the game. And he's an older guy. He's been through a lot. Basically, he lost his daughter right when the outbreak happened.
From what I know of it, he's basically old man Logan.
Yeah. Basically, there's a lot of similarities between Logan and Last of Us, really.
Yeah.
That's why I say Logan is the best Last of Us adaptation.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
But he kind of gets forced into this journey with this 14-year-old named Ellie.
Yeah.
Who, as they find out, was bitten by one of these monsters, right?
Yeah.
And normally when you get bit, you turn into them.
Yeah.
Ellie's been bitten. She hasn't turned for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
She's basically immune to it.
Because from what I know, like at the end of the game, these doctors want to take her apart because they think she's
I'm
the cure.
getting to that. Basically, there's a resistance group to the government that's still around called the Fireflies.
Yeah.
And Ellie, the person who leads the Fireflies was friends with Ellie's mom, supposedly, and so because Ellie kind of hangs out with them.
Yeah.
When they find out that, hey, Ellie might be able to have this cure, we might be able to fix all this, they basically send Joel, because the game starts in Boston. He goes all the way out to like San Francisco, which this game takes place over a year.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's a lot of stuff that goes on along the way. Like, at first, Joel doesn't want to do it because he's like, he's obviously still mourning his daughter, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with this. But he kind of gets forced into it. And so what happens is, over the course of the game, he really kind of comes to terms with his grief and how the world's become. And he really finds a surrogate daughter in Ellie.
Yeah.
But at the end of the game, they finally get to the Firefly base. And it's revealed that there might be a way, there's a 50-50 shot of them getting a cure for all this. Either way, to do it, they have to basically kill Ellie.
Yeah.
To kind of like mine this stuff from her brain. And Joel basically, I joke, how I played it, he rips the fucking building apart,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And he basically rescues her because she's knocked out at the time. And it's really sad, kind of the ending of the game, because what happens is Ellie kind of knows there's something not up, because after Joel basically murders an entire building worth of Firefly people,
Yeah.
including the person that was supposedly friends with Ellie's mom, he kills her right off the bat because he's like, you just come after her. He just like coup de grace executes her, basically. It kind of playing up that Joel's not really a good guy,
Yeah.
but he's understandably why he's like
Well, yeah,
that.
because like in order to save the world, you have to kill this kid. Like.
Yeah, and he's
like,
not going to do it. But
yeah.
so what happens is, the end of the game is that Ellie kind of knows something's up, and she asks Joel, like, because Joel basically said, we left because they said there was that it was false. There was no cure. There's no fixing any of this.
Yeah.
They told us to go home. So Ellie basically asked him, look me in the eye and swear to me that everything you told me was true. And Joel basically looks dead at her, and he's like, I swear. Ellie says okay, and then that's the end of the game.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's why we've waited, because that game came out in 2014.
That's what I say.
This is 2020. We've
It's
waited
been like
this
6
long.
years.
I'm really excited for the sequel, especially because, again, it's 2 discs. It's going to be a long-ass game. And plus, it takes place a lot of years after the first game. Like, Ellie is, like, a lot older now.
Yeah, so she's probably close to her 20s if the game actually follows.
Yeah, so like I said, when I got it, I wasn't expecting a whole lot. And I just was blown away by the game. I loved the storyline, loved the settings, loved the gameplay. I think I actually played I'm not usually a guy that plays through games on the hardest settings because I don't like getting pissed off at games like that.
Same.
I've beaten that game in the DLC on Grounded, which is the hardest, mind you. It's not the hardest that comes with the game. You have to buy it. It's a DLC. It's a step above the hardest one. I've beaten both the DLC and the main game on that. And I swear to God, the last mission, it took me 4 hours to get to the end of the game because there's no ammo.
Yeah.
So you're forced to kind of like play it like Splinter Cell almost.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
it's fucking aggravating at points.
I can imagine.
But like I said, I'm really excited for the sequel.
Yeah. All right. So going on to my number 4. My number 4 is No More Heroes. Now, granted, I'm kind of breaking the rules here a little bit because I didn't play this when I was a kid, but I really love, in particularly the first game, I really, really love No More Heroes. Now, on the surface, it has a very basic story. You play as this loser otaku named Travis Touchdown as he basically enters this thing known as the United Assassins Association's rankings tournament. Basically, you start at 11 and you work your way up to becoming the number 1 ranked assassin. But as you go through the story, you see there's a lot more to the story, the character of Travis Touchdown. And you know, as you kill these assassins, you start to see that there's a lot more to it than just working your way up. I've talked to you a lot about this, Doug.
Yeah.
So like,
Actually, you sent me a video about, which was really cool.
yeah, there's a lot of like stories about dissecting No More Heroes, and much like every one of Suda51's games, there's a lot more to the story than what's on the surface.
You know, even academics have dreams.
Academics like to fantasize too, you know. But and you know, seeing as how No More Heroes 3 is supposedly coming out this year, I really love No More Heroes 1. It's one of those games, in my opinion, that really is art. Just because of how much symbolism there is in the story and just how much change Travis goes through as a character, and just, you know, what exactly is, in a lot of ways like Joker, like what exactly is going on here? What is real about this story, and like making sense of it more or less. But yeah, that's really all I could say about No More Heroes without really getting into it, just because I don't want to have to go through the whole story.
It's kind of like me with Last of Us. Like to really explain it, it would take way more time.
Yeah, like there's just so much plot to the No More Heroes. But I just love the game so much. There's so much great quotes about it. I love the style. Only real weakness of the game is that it's kind of clunky. But to be fair, that's true of every Suda game. The game itself is kind of clunky, and you play more for the story than you do playing the game. But overall, yeah, and No More Heroes 1 is probably the most solid one, because it was the last game Suda himself directed until Travis Strikes Again. So there was like a 10-year gap before he started doing games again. But yeah, otherwise I'm excited for No More Heroes 3. So let's move on to your number 3.
Long live the Soviet Union.
Amen.
My number 3, and this is cheating because this isn't really a singular game, but I really couldn't choose between any of them.
A lot of my games, it was pretty easy just because of which ones I think are the best.
My number 3 is the Fallout series.
Yes!
Fair enough.
Excluding Fallout 76, because haven't played it, not interested, doesn't count.
Well, let's be honest.
Don't care.
Well, let's be honest. Everyone at home already excluded Fallout 76 from that time.
Like I said, I decided to just say the series as a whole because I really enjoy all the entries. I've played all of them, including Tactics. The only one I really haven't played is the Brotherhood of Steel game on Xbox, but it's not even really canon.
That's probably
it
best.
wasn't canon when it came out.
It's probably
it's
best
not canon.
you didn't choose one anyways, because you don't want to set the world on fire.
But yeah, the first game I played was Fallout 3.
Yeah.
And then
Probably
I
as
played
most people.
I played
that was
Fallout.
mine.
I played Fallout 4 next. Actually, I didn't get around to playing New Vegas until much later. And even then, I don't really get a lot of the hype for New Vegas. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think Fallout 3 is better.
I'll be honest, that's the two I'm wavering about, because I do love New Vegas. It's such
Oh yeah,
a
I
great
mean, I
game.
love the game itself, but I
Fallout
don't.
3 is also really good.
Yeah,
too.
I love Fallout 3. I love Fallout 4 a lot. I've played a lot, probably more Fallout 4 than any of the other ones. But I even love like the original isometric top-down RPG style of Fallout 1 and 2.
And those certainly don't do the whole Bethesda thing. Good to see that you're here.
Oh, don't worry, there's more Bethesda. There's more Bethesda on this list coming.
I'm sure
but-
there is. Oh, trust me, I know.
If I really had to pick what my favorite game out of the series is, it would probably be Fallout 3, closely followed by Fallout 4. But
Yeah.
again, I love the entire series as a whole. I love the setting. I love all the lore that goes into it, and
Yeah.
just it really feels like its own world, basically. Like while the game itself follows your story as a character,
Yeah.
there's a lot more going on around you. Like the world keeps going. Like even though
Yeah.
the world is destroyed by the nuclear apocalypse,
Yeah.
there's still a planet, there's still life, and it's still
Yeah.
going on.
It rebuilds.
It rebuilds itself. It's a lot more brutal and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
more tribal than anything
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
like before. But like I said, I really like it because it feels like its own condensed little world. It really feels like a coherent world from start to finish.
And also,
And all these creatures with the hand penises.
okay, think tank.
That's my favorite thing about New Vegas.
I'm Jangles, the moon monkey,
And also, you gotta love Three Dog. Ow!
bringing you the truth, no matter how bad it hurts.
And also, one last thing to add to that, I love how you can like make your own story. You can decide your own character, what they look like, what they can do, and of course, your skill sets actually match what kind of game you want to play, so, or what skill points you want to develop. So you could play it multiple times, like through different routes.
I'm just glad you didn't pick New Vegas or Fallout or 76, because then we'd have to take off all our clothes except for our underwear and have way bigger arms and legs.
Real quick before we move on, the last thing I want to say is one thing I really feel like I love Fallout 4 is its dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Its dialogue is great, down to like the serious ones,
Yeah.
down to just the stupidly funny shit that can come
Yeah.
up, like
Like what he said, yeah.
the hand penises,
This is-
or one of my favorites is like I can't remember what it is. I think the Jangles the Moon Monkey line was a good one. There's another one where you could just be like the most sarcastic asshole to some of the people in that game, and it's funny. It honestly makes it really fun to replay it because you can
Yeah.
always choose different dialogue
Yeah.
options.
So we both did our 4.
No, number 3.
Oh no, yeah, that was your number 3. Sorry. My number 3 is Pokemon Soul Silver. My favorite. I'll keep this one pretty simple.
Pokemon.
Generation 2 is my favorite generation. It's where my favorite Pokemon comes from with Umbreon. I like the fact that like we get to go to the Kanto region and see all the changes from the 3 years between the first and the second game. I like the Johto region just because I think it has more of the Japanese flair that region has, and I think it works really well for the aesthetic of that region. I like some of the bigger pieces of lore, like the stuff with Ho-Oh and the legendary beasts. And for me, the DS version of this Soul Silver is the definitive version of this game because it's just the best version of this game. I love Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. I think it's the game that really signifies how much potential Pokemon had as a franchise and where it was going to go. And I know a lot of people will say that they like 3 over this game. They're wrong.
No, man, Gen 1 Master Race. Oh, yeah.
Well, seeing as how most Gen 1 Master Races put Gen 2 with Gen 1 anyways, they can all...
Jesus Christ.
I like
Kiss
Gen,
my
I like
Rudy
Gen
Patootie.
4.
Pokemon Race Wars.
To be fair, I think Gen 4 is pretty cool. And technically Soul Silver is Gen 4, but overall, that's basically why I like Soul Silver, just because I think it's the best version of my favorite gen. That's all there is to it. So
I actually have 2 games I want to mention, so I'll try to keep them a bit short. So the one as a kid I loved playing, even as a little kid, was when I was growing up, my dad had friends who had older kids who got new game systems, so I get the old ones. One was the Super Nintendo, and one of my favorite games from that was Super Mario World.
Super Mario World is pretty good.
Oh, I loved that. I would say that's my favorite Mario game, even like to Mario 3 or Mario. Yeah, see, I gotta
But does
say,
it have Super Mega Death Crust?
oh, Jesus Christ.
No, surprisingly, it doesn't have Super Mega Death
But here's
Crust.
my thing. It's so much fun. You have Yoshi, so that's, that was a really fun game mechanic. Did you just do the egg crack?
Yeah, well, that's actually Yoshi saying his name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's saying Yasi, which is the Japanese name for Yoshi.
Raccoon City sounds lovely.
Oh, no. No.
Oh god.
No.
Wait, are you doing the robot chicken?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and not to mention, of course, the graphics. It just looks beautiful. It's I think
yeah, no.
a good mixture between cartoony, but also just like general games. It's great sticks. It's nostalgic to play, and the music is so beautiful.
Yeah, I don't. There's very few Mario games that I think I don't think they need to remake. In my opinion, if you're gonna remake this, just make the sprites look a little I don't even think it needs to be made into like a 3D. I think it's just perfect the way it is.
I think so. I don't even think I really think just make it to a port like you can play on.
Also, fun fact, they were originally gonna make a port of that for the CDI. That was what Hotel Mario was going to be originally called. It's called Mario's Wacky World.
Goddamn CDI. Until I get one, we don't talk about it.
Well, no, legitimately, they were gonna. I think they were gonna either make a port or a sort of sequel to Mario World, which was gonna be called Mario's Wacky World, which is actually
you want to talk about town with no name.
Yeah, no. Which also, fun fact. In the song "Jump Up Superstar" in Mario Odyssey, when she says "in this wacky world,"
yes,
that's what she's referencing. Because
really?
that was a subtle reference to the fact that originally they were gonna make because I think Odyssey is kind of like their sequel to Mario World in a sense.
Yeah, so, I haven't played it, but I imagine it would be.
So Odyssey is kind of Mario's Wacky World in that regard. That's you had another game I think you were gonna say.
No, I'll say after your next round. Okay. But one last thing is, I did beat it. I think was it 2 years ago. It's actually a fun game to beat. Look,
did you find all 96 exits?
I think I did Star Road. I did that.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, because sometimes Mario games, like Mario 64, it's kind of fun to do, but really it's not. It's kind of a pain in the ass to do the 1%.
That once you've played that game, there's really no secrets to it.
Oh, and not to mention, as I'm playing right now, Mario Sunshine. Oh god, dude, 100% that game is just
Mario Sunshine's a pain in the ass to 100%. It's
so,
not even worth it.
That's why. Along with what I just said earlier, that's another reason why I love Mario World. So, yep, that's all I got to say.
You got something to contribute to the class, Colton?
No, I'm waiting for when we get to my number.
All right, let's do your number 2.
Well, for this one to be real, we need the screen to go black, and we're gonna wake up in the back of a car with our hands
I knew we were getting to Skyrim.
You filthy nod.
What is there to say about Skyrim now? There's so many.
Racist. He's a sky.
I'm not a damn.
You're a sword cloak.
I'm not a damn racist.
You're a sword cloak. You support the racists.
All right. Keep going.
All I want to know is why are the Argonian shovels talking?
Keep going. Good Lord, keep going.
Okay, sorry.
What is there to really? I'll keep this brief because what is there to say about Skyrim? It's been ported to everything, including the freaking Alexa. At this point,
I have Skyrim on Dr. Pepper.
While it wasn't my first RPG, that honor falls to my number 1 pick. But Skyrim was really a game that I kind of got into because I'd seen my roommate in college play it, and kind of didn't really have interest in Elder Scrolls games prior to this. I'd really heard of them, but never really got into them. I picked it up one day because I was like, I need something. I need something new to play.
Yeah.
Popped it in, and I just was immediately obsessed with it.
Yeah.
It was one of the most fun games I'd ever played. I was never really even a fantasy guy up to that point. Mm-hmm. I played that, and then it was I kind of wanted to look into fantasy stuff. So that got me into Conan, Red Sonja. It really opened the door to a lot of fantasy for me. And again, there's not really much you can say about it because it's probably one of the most popular games of all time.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much open-endedness to it. While there is a main storyline, the joke is always nobody ever does the main storyline. They're always off doing some other weird shit in some obscure part of the map.
Yeah, you're almost dying eating 76 cheese wheels.
Eat the cheese.
Don't forget your Algorian. Don't forget your Algonian wine.
Why are the shuffles talking?
And the only game I care about is if they finally make the lusty Argonian maid game.
Oh god.
Ultimate cosplay if you do that.
My number 2 is Crash Bandicoot Warped.
Warped. Yes.
A game I've actually played. That's one of the first ones on your list that I've actually played.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think you've played any of the games I've played.
No, I haven't, sadly.
I
wasn't a Nintendo kid.
All 3 of us has played this.
Crash Bandicoot Warped is, and I know a lot of people will say that 2 is the better of the 3, but I mean, that's fair. I think 2 is a good game. I love 2. But 3 for me was just, it's so fun. I love that they go with the time travel concept so much. I love all of the different worlds. I love getting all the power-ups. The boss fights in this are probably the best of the whole series. Shout out, of course, going to the one where you play as Coco and you fight Engine and his giant robot.
Though, I'll tell you this, it's a pain in the ass where you get killed on the second form.
Oh, yeah, because then you have to start the whole boss fight again.
I mean, it's fun. The actual boss fight is fun to do. But
it is fun, but if you got so close and got so far.
Yeah.
In the end, it doesn't really matter.
Why do you do this?
Now we're gonna get copyright flagged.
But like, it's the reason I picked this one over. It's because this is the one I played the most out of.
Yes.
I love the game. It's if you like 2, I can't blame you because 2 is pretty solid. It's just I like 3 so much just because there's so much more to do in 2. I'm one of those people actually. I think the motorcycle and the plane fights are actually pretty good. Like. I know the motorcycle's kind of weird, but I like the motorcycle. I don't think it's that bad.
Look, here's the thing. As a kid, I couldn't beat that freaking level. I couldn't beat those fucking levels. I had to get my stepdad to try and beat them for me, and I think he did the first one. But then when it was like the second one, I couldn't progress through the game.
Yeah,
it was a pain in the ass.
For me, I don't think they're that bad as long as you.
Well, I was like 6 or 7.
For me, I would say do the crystal race first because it's harder to get the first place than it is to get all the boxes.
Yeah. Oh no, we gotta do the boxes. You gotta take it real slow.
That's what. Yeah, because but if you're trying to, because I know people that can do both, and I'm like, you are insane.
Yeah,
do not do that.
Fuck that.
Do not do that. But yeah, like overall, like Crash 3 is just my favorite. Like I like all the quotes from that game. On my time now, you little skunk, give me the crystals.
Oh, if only I would kill to just have.
Sitting somewhere on a tropical island, and a beautiful woman would come with two big bags of ice for my head. You're roasting me, mate. No worries. What's up next is going to be much worse.
Aku's free? Oh no, it
Cannot be. Quickly, children, inside. I love that game. That game is like my favorite Crash game, and And to be fair, the Insane Trilogy version of it is great.
Yeah.
Except for the jet ski parts with Coco. Those are actually way worse to control than the original game.
Yeah.
It is literally like you're playing on butter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sorry. So I guess we should go on to the ones.
So sorry. I'm going to say my last game before that. I want to say one thing you have to say. I would say 3 is the best to play completely through.
Yeah, true.
I would say 2 is fun because I actually played both and I did complete 100% both of them. I would say with 2, it's funner to do. It's more fun to actually get all the gems and stuff. I'm sorry. It may be fun to do the motorcycles and plane levels when you're doing it first time just to get the crystals. But it is kind of a pain in the ass to get through it.
That's fair.
And they do reuse a lot of the assets again. So, but I would say as just a game itself, just go straight through is I would say better than 2. So I'm gonna say right now one of my most favorite games as a kid, growing up, has to be, and once again I'm cheating a bit, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2.
Oh, this game's so good.
Oh yeah. First off, you gotta understand. I actually got introduced to Sonic. Of course, I played number 2 as a kid, like on the Sega Genesis, which was pretty fun. I love number 2. And also 3 and 4, or no, 3 and Sonic and Knuckles on the computer when I was a kid too. But when I was like a preteen, like I want to say, well, actually at like 9 or 10, like when I went to my cousin's house, they had Sonic Adventure 2. And when I saw them play and we played it with them, I said I had to get this game. And man,
you gotta go fast.
Yes, I had to, because I got escaped from the city.
It's true.
Okay, so the gameplay is fun. I don't care what anybody says about Sonic.
Sonic was never good.
Jesus Christ, don't do this to me, Adam. So Sonic Shadow levels are great. Eggman and Tail levels are great. The Rouge and Knuckles are.
I'm gonna disagree with you on here. I actually like the Knuckles and I like the Knuckles and Rouge.
They're fine. More than they're not. I don't hate them as much as people do.
Tails, but
I prefer Shadow the Hedgehog on Xbox 360.
You
shut up! I played that game. That was god. So.
What about the one with the romance plot with the princess?
We do not talk about Sonic 06 in this car.
We
do not talk about Sonic 06 in this car.
I'm an agent of chaos.
I did not play that game. I did not play the story game. I played the multiplayer just to see how it was with my brother. I played Silver. He sucks. He's not fast.
Yeah, he's the only hedgehog in the whole franchise that's not fast. What thought process that is, I do not know.
And of course, as you know, I love the whole this has a plot, like an emotional overarching plot, and I like the idea of they team up to defeat a bigger force, and I love that with Adventure 1 too, except for I actually liked all of the Adventure 1 levels except for Big.
I gotta find Froggy. I'm gonna do fishing mini games in every single world to find Froggy.
Oh, it's terrible.
He's also voiced by Duke Nukem.
That's true too.
I will admit I think Adventure 1's a little bit better just because they don't have the subplot where Robotnik wants to piss on the moon. He said it was this big, and I said that's disgusting.
I love that. Okay, I love that some people are gonna be like, "What is this about?"
Yeah, no one's gonna understand a word of what we're saying. All right.
Wait, there's one last thing. The soundtracks of those two, I don't care what anybody say, they're freaking great.
Those are solid.
Even Pumpkin Hill is good.
Taking a stroll down the Pumpkin Hill.
So I would say that would be my top childhood game of all my lists.
Alrighty.
When I think of influential games I've encountered on my travels, I've seen many. From the Elder Scrolls series to Fallout to Grand Theft Auto. I don't think there's ever been an influential game so much better than Plumbers Wear Ties. Plumbers Wear Ties are full of shit.
Well, I mean, it's a great.
He wears a tie for one.
No, it's a gripping
Get
story.
out of bed, John. Get out of bed.
It's a gripping story about a plumber and a woman who's being harassed by her boss.
For those that know me, this one was a no-brainer. I'm sure some people probably thought Skyrim was going to be my number one. My top pick for any game I've ever played, and again, cheating a little bit because it's 2 games, but that would be Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2.
Yeah, I knew those were gonna be the number one.
Honestly, it's the games that got me really heavily into Star Wars, the expanded universe. It was really my first RPG. Like, I remember just as a kid being like, I can do whatever I want. You know what I mean? This is awesome. It was funny because when I got that game right around 2005. So probably a year after release. You know, it garnered all the awards. Oh, actually, no, it came out in 2003. So this was a year after the sequel came out.
Yeah.
But, you know, the first game had garnered so many awards. It was Game of the Year for 2003.
Oh yeah.
And I picked it up and went home. Because I was hanging out with an aunt at the time, and I played it on there. Loved it. Was looking forward to going home and playing it, and my computer couldn't fucking run the damn game.
Oh no, that was mine with the first one actually.
For 3 years, man, I could not get that fucker to run. Because my card couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Because you gotta remember, my first computer was one of those Hot Wheel PCs.
Yeah, I remember.
It could not handle it at all. It probably shit itself trying. But so eventually, like, I got a new graphics card, and that was the first thing I tried it. And like, you know, I got it all set up, ran. I'm like, okay, let's try it. Hit play, and it launched. And I was like, yes. So, and that started off really what was a game that I've really come to just love. I can quote it verbatim.
Yeah.
Even though I've played it a million times over, I've beaten the games on both sides, light and dark. I've done so many playthroughs, incomplete, non-complete. To this day, I still find dialogue in those games I have never heard before. Mm-hmm. That's just how big those games are. I love the story. The first time I played through the first one, the plot twist like knocked me off my feet. The second one, while being a little lackluster in its vanilla state, once you put the restored content mod on it,
Yeah.
I feel it's actually almost better than the original because it's a lot more of a complicated plot where instead of kind of like being a light and dark story like most Star Wars stuff is, KOTOR 2 is actually like a lot more like dealing with, well, why is stuff considered the good path? Why is this considered the bad path? It's really kind of like more middle of the road.
Yeah.
And I really love both games for that because I feel like both games have a great story to tell. And I was really upset when they rebooted the EU because I was like, man, these games aren't canon anymore.
Yeah.
However, with Rise of the Skywalker, they've made Revan canon again. So I have almost just been like, you know, via extension, both those games are fucking
For me,
canon,
I wouldn't have even worried about if they were canon or not, just because of the fact they take place like
4,000 years before episode 1.
Before episode 1. So I'm like, I didn't see really what the point of them not like having that be canon.
Yeah,
just
but
because
Star Wars continuity anymore is confusing as hell.
Well, it's because Disney's like, hey, we're not going to have the EU be a thing, except that we're going to just pick and choose what we want from the EU to put into our newer movies because we know how they make sense.
For those who haven't played them, please pick them up and play them. They're wonderful games. I've gotten hours of enjoyment out of them because it's an RPG. It's kind of like Skyrim, a little less open world because there's a plot going on, but there's such great dialogue in it. There's great writing. The locations are great. And again, the storyline in the first one is amazing. I'm not going to spoil the twist, although the game's been out since 2003, so most people probably already know what it is. But again, if you haven't ever experienced it, it's really one of those games that I feel like you have to play before you die.
Yeah.
Because those games are such amazing pieces of work. You know, the fact that it won Game of the Year for 2003, the first one did, really shows that this was quality. You know, this game took them 3 years to make, and the effort that went into it really shows.
Yeah, although I don't know. I still don't know if it's better than Masters of Terrakasi.
Also, can you play as Jar Jar Binks?
No. Get the
Get out of this car.
Get the
Get out of
fuck
this
out of
car
my
right now,
house.
Doug. Get out of this car
fuck
right
out of
now.
my
You can't,
house.
or else it'll explode. I got a bomb on
Your
me.
balls, hand them over.
Yeah, I don't know, Colton. I think it still could have. It could have been eventually beaten out by Star Wars 1313 if that had actually gotten made. It's a shame because I actually was looking forward to that when that came out.
But wait,
1313.
As was I.
What about Star
Like,
Wars video
jokes
game?
aside.
A Star Wars video game based on the Christmas special.
Get the fuck out of this Jeep now.
I mean, it is back in canon again.
I'll go home and fire up RPG Maker and make one for you.
Yeah.
Please no. All right. So I guess we'll go with my number one. And again, I don't know if anyone in this car has played it.
I've heard of it. I know.
My number one is Okami for the PS2. I'm a pretty big weeb in this car,
Same here.
but I love Okami because it's basically a telling about Japanese mythology. You play as this goddess known as Amaterasu, who is, in most Japanese lore, the goddess of creation. Basically, she created everything.
Is she also a fire god?
I think, kind of. She's
Or
the goddess
goddess.
of the. Well, she's the goddess of the sun because
Yeah,
like
sun.
she,
I meant to say sun.
So you could argue she's a fire goddess, but basically she is she's brought back to life after being killed against fighting this giant 8-headed snake known as Orochi.
Haru?
What's that? No, not a,
What? You said you're a weeb.
really.
Were you?
Really?
Hadouken? I'm sorry.
Anyway, it's not you. Basically she's revived and she's a wolf, hence why the title Okami is actually the word for wolf.
Oh.
But if you take the O out, it's kami, which is the Japanese word for God.
I seen Death Note. I thought this was.
Oh, I love the Netflix series.
Oh, shut the.
You get out of this car right now. Get out of this car right now. So anyway, she's awoken because Orochi is reborn, and you're tasked with finding these other gods that were originally your powers. But basically, when you died, your powers became gods themselves, and you have to find them all to revive all your powers, and also get humanity to have faith in the gods again. Because this game does have an RPG element where you get experience, but you don't get it from like fighting. You get it by performing acts of God that makes people gain faith in the gods again, and you get what's known as praise. And basically, you can level up by getting enough praise. And so basically, you are tasked with restoring the land and also defeating all the darkness that is coming because of Orochi. And the game gets more into it later on because Orochi is actually, when you defeat Orochi, it's not the end of the game. It's only the end of the first half of the game. This game is like 70 hours. But basically, there's that, and basically, in my opinion, it's actually like the best Zelda game ever until Breath of the Wild, even though it's not a Zelda game. But basically, you go through dungeons and you get new brush abilities, because basically in this game you have what's known as a celestial brush. If you pause if you press like R2, it'll turn the game into a canvas mode, where basically you have a brush with ink and it turns into a canvas and you can draw on it. Depending on what you draw, you can do certain things, like you can light fires, make the sun and the moon rise and set. You can cause it to rain. You can do all sorts of things once you know the powers. In fact, Amaterasu actually has two powers at the beginning of the game. You don't know about the second one until after you get a certain far in. But basically, she gets the power of restoration, which allows you to restore like broken bridges and stuff that's missing. And also, she can raise the sun, which, because she's Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun. So, but yeah, like, I love this game because it's so fun and there's so much you can do, because literally the whole game takes place in Japan and you literally travel to almost every end of Japan in this game.
Really? So from
Yeah.
Hokkaido to Kyushu?
Yeah, no, you travel to like the southern, like the southern like beachy areas, all the way to like the snowy north.
Nice.
You go into the sea and find the Ryugu Palace, which is like a sea of like these dragon mermaids, and like you climb like a tower and reach the heavens.
Nice.
Fun fact: one of your brush gods is a cat, and you have to climb this big tower, and she teaches you how to walk on walls.
Of course.
Does she wear the special boots so she can climb walls?
No, you literally you basically find these cat statues in the game, and if you draw a line to it, it makes these little cat prints you can literally cling to the wall on when you climb up it.
Is Neon Cat in it?
No, Neon Cat is not in it.
Is that a fucking cat?
Well, because basically all the brush gods are based on one of the animals of the Chinese zodiac, And I know what you're thinking. The cat is not technically. The cat is actually the 13th zodiac sign.
Yeah, because isn't that the thing with fruit baskets?
Yeah, like there's a lot of references to that. I know in Digimon, the Devas, they're each based on an animal, and Beelzemon is actually technically based on the cat.
Digimon, you say? Well, you know, it's been 1 week.
I'm just gonna walk out this car. I'm gonna walk out.
Man, I didn't know this was gonna be the last episode of Remember the Hyphen tonight.
I'll be your new co-host.
No, you want to go out there with him.
The next episode's gonna be a found footage deal where it's me running.
It's gonna be.
But yeah,
Project.
but I just love this game because there's
Blair Witch Project.
I love this game because there's just so much to do. I love interacting with all the people. I love the plot where you go through all these different Japanese myths. You rescue Kagi of the moon.
Ooh.
You save a city from like this poison because like the emperor is sick and he's literally as he's sleeping pouring all this poison gas that's like covering the whole. So you have to go inside him and fight this like demon that's in his stomach.
Talk about halitosis.
You're not far off. You fight a giant nine-tailed fox, and this actually is one of my favorite boss fights because, okay, so in order to get a new brush power, you find a constellation that represents that god, and you have to fill the stars in that are missing. Well, basically, you climb up Ninetails' palace, and all of a sudden you see a constellation, but it's blood red, and once you fill the stars in, he actually becomes like a brush god. And you fight him in the plane you normally fight the brush gods in, and he has his own brush, and he can actually like by crossing it out with red ink, it'll negate your powers. Basically, what you have to do is he'll raise this sword up in the air, and you use the lightning power you got in the dungeon, obviously, and you use it to strike his sword, and it splits him into these 9 little QB monsters, and you have to kill each one until he's reduced to this old withered wolf with like missing an eye. You have to fight him. Oh, it's so good.
Then where does Naruto come in?
But yeah, I really love Okami. Sadly, it was made by Clover Studios, which got bought out by Capcom, and they really haven't made much. If you're gonna play this game, I would recommend getting it for Wii because you actually can use the Wiimote like a brush. In the original game, you had to hold a button and use the analog stick to draw.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, it's not. When I played it with the PS2, it was fine. It works. But some of the more complicated brush strokes, like in order to make fire, you have to draw the infinity symbol.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's like a square.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to do the infinity symbol with an analog stick. But it's also on Switch. So, you know, a Joy-Con would work just as well. I would actually recommend getting it for Switch. I think it's only like $20. It's just a fun game, like, because you do all sorts of really neat things. You learn a lot of Japanese, like, mythology. And it's just a fun game. Like, I can't stress enough, like, just how much, like, for me, it's like the definitive Zelda game until, like, Breath of the Wild. Like, it legitimately is such a great Zelda game. It's also one of the few, like, Zelda-like games where a thing you get in a temple is still used in the rest of the game.
Nice.
You know how hard that is for some Zelda games? Like, not to just be a one dungeon wonder? It's really hard.
Yeah, I think you
But,
actually, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
You said we talked about this before about this game, and you said that you thought the Navi of this game, I forget his name.
Isun.
You said that he was like one of the best Navi type characters.
Oh, yeah,
ever.
no, because he's really funny. Especially, it helps that he tries to speak for Amaterasu, which he calls Ami in this, like, a lot. Like basically, like, people will ask for Amaterasu's help, especially people that know that she's the goddess Amaterasu. They'll be like, well, I don't know. I gotta talk to Boss Ami here to see, and it'll give you like a yes or no, and every time you say yes, it'll be like, really? Even though I'm like, dude, we've done this like 3 times now. I'm gonna say yes every time. I gotta save the world. I gotta become the goddess of creation again, and she is a goddess. There are multiple times where people with spiritual abilities can see her form, and it's a woman. Like they'll be like, what's a maiden like you doing in this temple? But yeah, overall, I really like the game. Like, if you love Japanese lore, I really recommend getting it because there's so much culture and stuff you can learn from it. And also, if you look really close, you can see Amaterasu's butthole whenever its tail wags.
Why?
No, I'm not even kidding.
Why?
Because they actually took they actually saw this real wolf. She's actually based on a real white wolf. But like they do that because when you fight demons, you can get abilities where you literally can piss and shit on like your opponents to like make them like lower their defense.
This is really Japanese
This
game.
sounds like some fetish shit, man.
Nice. In fact, you fight dog bosses in this because they're based on these like 8 warriors from actual Japanese lore, and they're all dogs in this version.
Okay.
And some of them actually shit on you and makes you lose all your ink because the ink you used to
And I thought the more Sunshine thing where they puke on you was worse.
It's especially annoying because like you lose your celestial weapon if you lose your ink because you literally get reduced to a regular dog.
Wow, that's a lot of fetishes in one game.
But yeah, so I think that kind of wraps up our top 10.
Yeah, this has been a really long episode, but we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I think that's pretty much it for this one. I really had fun doing this. I like talking about some of my favorite games.
Yeah, it was fun to have you on, Doug.
Yeah, it really
Thank
was
you.
fun to have you on. Doug.
I really was honored to be invited. Thank you.
And,
So next time we're going to talk about Howard the Duck.
no,
Do you want to be on here for Howard the Duck?
Yes, we got to talk
Well,
about.
I don't know if we'll be doing it. We'll be doing that next week. I forget what we.
I forget.
We got to discuss the
we're
famous
gonna do the
scene.
cult?
Why was that?
Yeah, I think we're gonna
scene-
do the cult.
Okay. But yeah. So long episode, but I think we had fun doing it.
We're gonna play Pimp My Ride on the PS2.
We gotta
So-
go before Adam kills us.
What about Cybermorph on the Atari Jaguar?
Oh,
if you will actually whip out that Jaguar and play Cybermorph
let's
on
play some
that, I'm willing.
Jag.
I don't know what.
Where
word
did
for
you
Jag
learn to fly?
Where'd you learn to be such an asshole? But anyway, guys, I think that's gonna be it for now. I'm Zongetsu134,
Average Joe Squad.
Just call me Dougie Fresh.
and as always, we ask you to remember the hyphen. Take care.